is what we're doing. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm super excited about today. What's the old saying? I couldn't sleep all night, and a couple coffees in and some nice bottle of water. We're all ready to go. So welcome to the Greater PA Virtual Agent Mastermind. And it is a little different, right? Things are a little different virtually, but I think from what I'm hearing on the chat line, we are very excited to get started today. And I'd like to kind of start out like we did in the Cultural Summit, and we asked you guys to kind of throw in the chat box, what are you grateful for today? You know, as you woke up this morning, you know, what made you smile, or what were you excited about? We'd love to hear it in the chat box, that just kind of, what are you grateful for today? And also throughout the day, we'd love you to ask questions for the panelists, or if you have ahas, just throw it in there, because we want it to be really hyper interactive. So we're all in this together, not just the panelists. We want everyone to be participants today. So I'm excited about that. And do you all have your pens? Can we see your pens in the screen? Let's see them. We have them. And you probably need a notepad too. So if you got that, we could see that too, because you need to write, right? So let's see all those and have them ready to go. And then also share your ahas on Facebook, hashtag GPA Agent Mastermind 2020. So let's get the Facebook community really blowing up so we can show the excitement that's going on here in the Greater PA region.
Oh man, we got lots of gratitude coming in.
Oh, I love
Lots
it.
of gratitude.
So I didn't start off doing the right thing. Number one, you met Michelle, you heard Michelle McBride, our regional area director, who's just a superstar in herself. So we're super excited to get her starting us off. And I'm your regional director, John Clyde. And I play two roles here, right? The first role is the regional director, and I'm so excited to just get back to some normalcy, right? I don't know about you guys. We had COVID, and we've had some civil things going on in the country, and I just want to get back to work. I just want to get back to doing the things that we love to do, right? Profitability and growth and excitement and seeing the agents and seeing my clients. And then I got this role called the social equality ambassador for Keller Williams International as a co-chair with Kimber Minkiti. And then that part is saying in my head is, can I just start a meeting off by not having any discussion about what's going on in our world? And the answer is no, I can't. And I thought about this a lot, and I wanted to just say a couple things in a couple minutes, and then I want to get back to your regional director. But I want to talk now as your social equality ambassador chair for Keller Williams International. And I want to share a conversation I had with Gary Keller yesterday. And it was the first time in my life that I've seen him emotional about it, because he made a statement, and he said to myself and a few others on the call, he said, John, I'm embarrassed. And I'm embarrassed because I was ignorant to what was going on in this country. And as successful and as, I've built this incredible company and I've done all these incredible things, the fact that I didn't know some of the things that were going on inside this company it just makes me have this pit in my stomach that I just can't get out. And, number one, it felt so sincere as I looked in his eyes, because I actually looked at, as the police officer in me, if you guys don't know, I was a trooper for 17 years, and I was just looking at him, and I felt the pain that he had, and it made me realize that, man, did I make a great decision coming to this company, to have a leader that stands for what he stands for. And if that didn't motivate me to be the chair, outside of what I experienced myself with racism and inclusion, and maybe not feeling like being stopped by a police officer when I was a younger teenager, or not getting a listing because of the color of my skin, or not having a relationship with my white side of my family because of the color of my skin. All those things, now I think we're all starting to awaken to know that there is an issue out there in America, which I'm proud that we recognize it. But I don't think just recognizing it is enough. I think we have to take action. And this company is going to take action. We're going to make policy changes. This 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 company is going to do things, and we're not going to just do it for right now. We're going to do it for Black Lives Matter because we feel that that's the most important thing right now. But this task force is going to help equality for everyone. So right now we're going to focus on this part of our commitment, but the task force is going to do so much. So I just ask that you folks that commit to this take this seriously. And if you're worried about how long it's going to be, or when people are asking what's the time commitment, then I would say that maybe you're not the person for a national chair, but maybe you're the person for the local chair or the local market center, because this is going to be a journey that we're not going to solve in a week. We're not going to solve it in a month. And we're not going to solve it in a year. It took a lot of years to get here, and it's going to take us a lot of years to get out of here. But I promise you, if we start the change at one relationship at a time, where we start having conversations and we don't hide behind anything and we just are open and honest to each other, we're going to change our homes with our families and our children. We're going to change our communities. We're going to change our market centers. And that's where the change truly comes, because real estate is just the conduit of everything else, right? This is the business we're in. We need to make changes at home. We need to make changes in our community. And we're going to do it in our market centers. So I asked everyone here that's committed to this, that you start making change locally. And then if you want to, help us regionally. And then ultimately, nationally, we're going to see the changes. But if we don't do it locally, it'll never happen. So my commitment as this chair is to do everything in my powers to start to make some changes in terms of the way our company behaves. So the policies will change. We're going to have social ambassadors in every market centers. We're going to have them in the region, and then we're going to have them in national at the national level. So you're going to have more information from this, from your market centers, from your region. If your market center hasn't had this conversation with you, let us know. We'll make sure that this information gets out. We sent an email to everyone in this region yesterday, to leaders and agents. And the question that was asked to me, is this for just for agents or is just for leaders? This is for anyone that wants to make a difference. So please, if you're not on an ambassador, but you just want to make a change, let your ambassadors know and make a commitment to change. And I'm sure we're going to all be better for it. And we're going to change the systematic issues that have plagued us for a lot of years. So thank you. I'm going to go back now, if you don't mind. I'm going to put my regional director hat back on, and I'm going to talk to Michelle McBride.
What's up?
Yay!
So Michelle, what's going on today?
Oh my gosh, John. So we're going to go on a journey today. So the journey that we're getting ready to take everybody on is a journey of lots of practical tips. So like John said, you're going to want a notebook, you're going to want a pad of paper, a pen, a pencil, whatever highlighter, whatever you need to make sure that you're taking tons of notes and getting everything down that you want to get down today. So lots of practical tips and what we really want you to be thinking about is, how might you implement these things right away? We're going to give you an opportunity later on in our second portion of our mastermind session to connect with your peers in an agent mastermind virtually. So we're going to be using Zoom to set up breakout groups. And if you haven't done that before, it's really cool. You're going to have some cool facilitators walking you through all of those. And then at the end of the 2 sessions today, you should have an action plan that has been peer reviewed and ready to implement. And so what we're asking for you to do today is pay attention, take notes, and play full out, because we really do believe that from leaving our session today and going into the phases of reopening and everything else that we've got going on, that we want to prepare you and get you guys ready to really go full steam ahead. So We're going to hear from Mr. Gene Rivers on how to survive crisis through a strong mindset. And then Karina Loken is going to walk us through an exercise on values. And Karina is going to talk to us about making sure you're surrounding yourself with the right people. She is the pro on the career visioning process, so she's going to be taking us through a little bit of that. And then we're going to end our morning session with, we're going to Cherie and Floyd, who are going to be talking to us about culture and what they've done in culture in their market centers and just in their communities, and amazing souls, and I can't wait for you guys to hear from them. And then we're going to end our morning with Mr. Jeff Hoffman. If you've ever heard of Priceline.com, Jeff was the inventor of Priceline.com, and he's going to walk us through the 3 R's for small business survival. So I'm really excited to hear from Jeff today as well. As we get started this morning, we just wanted to kind of walk you through a small exercise that we call the purpose exercise. This purpose exercise will allow you to really get some focus on why is it important that you are here today. So I know a lot of you are re-engaging in real estate. There was a little bit of a time lag. We've got Pennsylvania open now. You can be out there. You can be showing houses. Yay! Showing houses, and you can be doing all of the things. But we wanted you to just take a second now to think about why is it important for you to get clarity on what's important to you. And when you do that, we believe that it will allow you to be really laser focused on listening to the things that you're going to hear today and get those golden nuggets and get all of those things that are important to you. So here's the question. We're going to give you about 30 seconds to answer. And whenever you're ready, just pop your answers in the chat. That way we can see some of your responses. So the question is, why is it important that we take time to reflect on our personal mission, vision, and values? And as we get clear on our mission, vision, and values, how does that allow us to show up as better business people? So why is it important that we take time to reflect on our personal mission, vision, and values? And as we get clear on our mission, vision, and values, how does that allow us to show up as better business people? Let's take a couple of minutes now for you guys just to reflect on that and drop your comments in the chat channel. Yes, Steve. Wanda said, we can't do a good job with our clients unless we have our own values in place. Absolutely. From the Batty Colo team, we get so caught up in the day-to-day, we often forget about the bigger picture because we're busy working on the business. When we focus on the bigger picture, it helps us clarify our actions. We are working towards the greater plan. I love, love, love that. Clarity and focus in life and business. Absolutely. God and family first, and then business comes later, right? It's important so that we can stay laser focused on business. Yes, Pam. Yes, yes, yes. A clear mission and vision gives us clear direction to achieve success. We need to know where we're going so we can take the actions needed. Just went through the Quantum Leap workshop last night, and it was amazing. I agree. We're going to hear from a Quantum Leap aficionado today later on with Mr. Floyd. Clarity is power. Yes, things have changed for us and for others. They sure have, Sean. It's important to reflect on your why and your goals. Our actions are in alignment with our values. Guys, you guys are seriously crushing it. I love all of these. There's so many. We've got 30. I mean, there's hundreds of them. I wish I could take time to read all of them. John, was there any of them in there that was sticking out to you?
I mean, they're coming in like droves. I can't even focus on it. They just keep popping up.
From
Enhance your
Joel
mind,
Thing.
keep learning, get clarity on purpose. I hear the word clarity and vision and purpose, and wow.
Yeah. Dave Hook said, without clarity on where you're going, what we're doing, and why it matters, we may not go anywhere or do anything impactful. To enrich lives of those around us, we need to provide clarity and help people understand how they can help. I love that one.
How about know who we are and continue to renew your mind to be a better person?
I love that. I love that. And we have some Marshmallow fans, Miss P. They're liking the music. Guys, thank you so much for taking some time to just get focused this morning. As we said, as we are connecting to who we are as people, what's important to us as people, then we can show up and live the big lives that we want to live. And I'm going to turn it over to John, and he's going to introduce you to somebody who lives an incredibly big life. And I'm really excited for you guys to get a chance to hear from Jean this morning.
I don't know about you, Michelle, the energy you get from those chat rooms. I mean, it just, right? It just makes you smile that how positive just everyone is and how learning based they are, how, just to get you like in the right frame of mind for a day like today, right?
Yep,
And who
absolutely.
better than this guest, right? Like when you think about like top of anything in Keller Williams, for some reason, it's like almost when you think about like Kobe and Shaq and you talk all these names, for some reason, this name, Gene Rivers, always comes up in a Keller Williams discussion around, the who's who in Keller Williams, right? And Gene, I got a chance to meet your other half when I was in Northern Florida, and man, what a team, right? You two, you could see why since 1992, what you've created, Gene, from your team, from the market centers, um, master faculty, and not just master faculty. It's like everybody wants you to be there kind of thing. Like, hey, we got Gene Rivers to speak for us, or we got Gene Rivers on our calls or whatever. I mean, that's the kind of, gravitas or, what people say about you. And then Michelle, we had them come and do like our mastermind with our top 100. And for some reason, all these people started to show up. So we were like, I guess you got to get Gene Rivers if you want 100% participation, if you want to get, around our top people. So I wouldn't just say that, like you're a mentor to all of us, Gene, from wealth building to what you've created as a mega agent, what you've done as an investor and an operating principal in your market centers. And I'm just thankful and honored to have you on this call. So welcome, Mr. Gene Rivers.
Thank you so much, John. That's sweet of you. I'll give you $20 the next time I see you. That was some kind of deal, baby. That's pretty big. And by the way, the two baseball stars you mentioned, you have not, or basketball rather, you've not seen me play basketball, or you wouldn't have used those people. So I do appreciate it, and I love the folks in your region. You all have seen me before, a lot of you. Some of you, of course, haven't, but I've been coming there for a while now, and I don't always go back to certain regions because the people are not like your people. And I just love being there. I've been watching and talking to people in your region about what you've been going through, particularly in the state of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And it's been, from a realtor point of view, it's been about as hard as any place in the country. Maybe Manhattan was a little bit harder, starting with the fact they don't even have an MLS. So it's hard to sell homes virtually when you don't even have an MLS. But that's another story altogether. But the fact is, I'm real happy to be here and do what I can do to help spark whatever I can spark for people to get onto their purpose and make their life worth living a reality.
Yeah, thanks, Gene. And we talked about, earlier in the call, I talked about the COVID shift. Yeah. And then obviously the civil shift that we have in our country today. And,
yeah,
I've heard you many times talk about, the shift in your business and what occurred for you. I would say from what I know about that time and from listening to you and the stories that came out of your market center, I would say you experienced a severe shift in your business. And I would love,
like lose everything. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think maybe that's the story that we need to hear, because, you know, when you start from rock bottom, there's nowhere else to go. And you were able to kind of reinvent yourself, and not just you, your family, right? It's not just about you. And so some people might be at that point where it's starting from scratch, and you've done it. So what better person to hear it from than you, of, you know, how it happened and what you did to persevere through that, right? So tell us about that.
I will. I want to take 1 minute though and address the civil unrest issue and address what you were talking about. And I love 110% of what you shared with us about Gary and his conversations. And I know Gary too, and I know that emotion, if you saw Gary Keller exhibit emotion, it's real. He doesn't fake that because he can't. So I personally have been watching like everyone else, and I keep coming back to everything starts within. Everything starts with us. And I love what you said. This isn't going to be fixed in a day or a week or a month or a year. It's not. But the most important place to start with is individually look at who are we surrounding ourselves with. And I've thought about that a lot prior to this. In general, my offices are the most diverse offices, brokerages in the market areas that we work, and that's deliberate. That is intentional. And I think I haven't gone far enough in that. And I've been thinking about, I look at my brokerage, and if I look at my community and I look at my brokerage, I want at least the same percentage of minority groups in the marketplace in my brokerage, or my brokerage doesn't fully represent opportunities for everybody in my community. And as a business person, I'm failing if I'm not providing opportunities for all people in my community. You know, the more I help people get theirs, the more I'll get mine, right? I mean, if you think about it, John, from a pragmatic point of view, why don't I want to help more people get what they want, when the end result of that is my business gets bigger and stronger? Why wouldn't I want that? And I think agents who have teams ought to look at their own team and say, why is it there's no minority group on my team? I have 7 people, right? Minorities are 27% of the population. What's going on here? What am I saying to people around me? And what am I not gaining? What advantages am I losing because I'm myopic about the opportunities? I'm proud to say I have a diverse team as well. We have minority groups on my team, and I benefit from that, and I know I do. If you're in Florida, in fact, John, and you don't have somebody who speaks Spanish, you're losing money because you're dumb to recognize the fact that half of Florida, English is a second language, right? You got to connect with people by being like people. So just wake up to this reality. This isn't a hard thing if you really understand the power of being more inclusive. We all gain from this. This is a business proposition at its base level. From a business person's point of view, this is just smart business to be more inclusive. So I think we all do need to understand about it's who we surround ourselves with. And if you have parties in your house and there's 30 people and there's no minorities there, what's going on there? What are you? Who are you? And you're just ignoring opportunities. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. And I think the owners, the OPs and the investor owners and the team rainmakers need to look at who's around them and their businesses and start to think bigger about that issue. And that'll help solve the problem to some degree.
Hey, Gene, thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to, you mentioned something that really came to mind. And I spoke to a regional director late last night, and he said, you know, really kind of what you said about who you surround yourself with and how you behave. And he said, you know, it starts with me and how I perceive things. And he was so real and transparent that he also said, you know what, my wife is not on the same page as me. And he says, you know what, my first duty is to get her on the right page. And it warmed my heart that he was that committed, that he had to start first with himself, and then even with his wife, because his wife was saying things that he didn't think were she wasn't on the right track to making this thing better for their family and for their community. So I think you just reminded me of how important it starts with us and then the people we're around, because if we don't do that, none of this really matters, right? You know, because there's a business component and then there's just a life component. So I appreciate you for even getting me back to the mindset that I need to have every day. So you're a true leader, and you continue to show us why you are who you are. So thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for what you're going to be doing, that task force. I know, Mr. Keller, you will work. You will work. So I'm glad
we're already pushing him too, Gene. We were pushing him yesterday. So I think it's going to be a collective effort by a lot of people. So thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about the business side again. Let's shift hats and let's talk about the business thing. So yeah, my wife and I have been in the business now we're in our 32nd year, and it's just statistically speaking, John, over 3 decades, you're going to see at least 3 shifts, 3 economic shifts, which means real estate shifts. So I've lived through multiple shifts. I've lived through a personal collapse. We lost everything in Hurricane Andrew. We're in the business just over 3 years, and my wife and I were doing really well. We had a 3-level home by the water in South Dade County. We lived and worked in Miami at the time. And we had 2 new cars, and we thought things were just right where we wanted them to be. And Hurricane Andrew showed up August 24th, 1992. And in 36 hours, the 3-level home was a 2-level home over our heads. We were wrapped up in mattresses in the master bath. One of the 2 cars was destroyed. The listings we had, like most agents, we lived and worked in the same area. So the listings we had were gone. The pendings we had were gone. And when I say gone, I mean literally destroyed, gone. And then the real estate brokerage office we worked out of was in a complex, and the entire complex was destroyed. Every tree that had been standing, every single tree was gone. All street signs were gone. All traffic lights were gone. Everything was gone. And if you're old enough to remember this, Hurricane Andrew, after it happened, was the worst natural disaster financially that ever happened in the United States. And it was a mess with the insurance companies. And my wife and I it took 9 months to settle on the house, and it took 6 months to settle on the cars. And during that time, my wife and I needed to pay bills, and I had 2 kids. And we ended up living in a garage. We relocated up to Tallahassee, Florida. And I love what Michelle did, that idea about the purpose exercise. And my wife and I realized we'd been making lots of money, yeah, but we'd been spending every dime we made. And worse, we got into debt. We had a mortgage and we had loans on 2 cars. And the minute we had no income, we didn't have any cash assets. And we were literally toasted. We were in a garage. I mean, our life was totally over. And it was just, I can't tell you how hard it was on us to wake up every day and hate where we were in life. We just hated it. Things were going so great, and then boom, it's all gone. I think a lot of people are having that same kind of emotional feeling that what they had is now kind of gone. And how do you address that? And I think the purpose exercise is exactly that issue. It is about what is your higher purpose. And my wife and I committed to focusing on wealth, not money. And we focused on much bigger success than we had. We were doing fine. And what we realized was, as much money as we were making, it actually wasn't enough money for us to do those 3 things that you've heard me talk about before. We wanted an abundant lifestyle, which we were having, but we also need to grow our wealth, which we weren't doing. And we also needed to get out of debt, which we were building debt. We weren't getting out of debt. And we made a commitment that we're not going to go there again. We're going to fix that thing. So we wanted to buy a new home the first year, and we did that in July. And we wanted to be in the top 10 in the board of realtors in a new town out of 1,100 agents. And we were number 9 at the end of the year. And by the end of the second year, we were number 1. And most of my fellow realtors, they were going, who are these people? Where did they come from? And what are they doing? Well, we were doing what today is very common. We were building a team, and there was not a single team in the marketplace. And I knew a small business with high purpose and that had systems, tools, and people would crush all the competition. And that's it. It's just business. That's all it is. So I think the thing that your people need to be thinking about today more than anything is health. health. And when I say that, I mean two things. This COVID-19 is killing people. It's not a joke. It's real. And there's some states that have overreacted maybe, and there's some states that have clearly underreacted to it. I don't know that there's one way to be about COVID-19 because it's much tougher in some areas and much easier in other areas. So I don't think there is one shoe fits all recipe to deal with it. Businesses still need to do business or we're all going to starve, and I get that. But it is about health first, and it is you and your family, and it is your buyers and your sellers, and it is your fellow agents. We need to be protecting agents and consumers in the properties we have for sale, and we need to push them to do the right thing to protect their own customers if they're not doing it. So we provide gloves, we provide sanitizers, we ask them not to touch anything, we ask them when they leave to leave quickly. And then we go right back in and desanitize the house for the seller, because it's my job to protect these people who have entrusted me with the opportunities that they've given me. And we do the same thing with buyers. But it's also about the health of your business. So it's about your physical health, and it's also about your business health. And business health is, okay, you got popped in March and things radically changed. And when things radically changed, any agent who's worth his salt had a pipeline. And last fall, you were looking towards 2020. I came up and we talked about your 2020 business plan. And if you made a business plan and you haven't done it yet, tear that sucker up, because that business plan is not the plan any longer. Just tear it up. And I hear a lot of people talking about this is the new normal, and that is not true. This is not the new normal. This is about health. This is about survive, stay healthy. Once the virus wave has passed, you will not be behaving like you're behaving now. So this is about survival. And the pipeline that agents had when they started the year, in March, when the shutdown started happening all over the place, your pipeline had people that told you, yep, we want to put the house on the market in April and sell it by May or June and move by June or July so that we're settled before our school starts and the kids will be ready, right? And those people, when the shutdown happened, those people were basically splintered into three groups. There's some people that said, look, I know the virus is real, but we're having our third baby. We have a 3-bedroom house. I can't take it anymore. We've got to move out of this house. And they stayed committed to moving. And then you had other people in your pipeline that said, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't know about this. I don't know about this. And then you had other people that said, no, we're not going to do anything right now. This is this is too scary. Don't know what's going to happen with the economy. We're not going to do anything right now. Agents should have been in April, if not in March, in April and May. You should have spent an hour a day on the phone at 8 a.m. calling your pipeline, not your sphere, your pipeline, and basically saying, John, last fall, you told me you're going to move, put your house up for sale in April and move in spring and summer. And I verified that in February. And now here we are, John. Tell me, John, are you still game or are we still on? Because if we are, we have special precautions and special steps. And I'm going to send you some literature and we're going to talk about it. But we can get the job done. John, if you want to do it, we're game. And the people that said, yes, you go forward. Again, protecting their health is always the primary mindset, right? The other people that went, oh, whoa, 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 a lot of those people needed answers. Well, I'm very concerned about this virus. My wife is a diabetic, and that puts her at a risk group, and I'm very concerned about this. Great. I want to have a Zoom session with you and your wife, and let's talk about the strategies that we put into place following CDC and WHO guidelines that will protect you. And if you and your family are still going to the grocery store, and I'll bet you are, and you're going to the drugstore, and I'll bet you are, you're going to be safer with just you and I going to one property where there's no one home and going in with gloves on and precautions and leaving. You'll be safer looking at property with me than going to the grocery store. So I will make it safe for you. And if you feel comfortable after I outline what we're doing, then we'll get to work and you will move. So I think in that environment, you will convert some of those, I don't know people to do business. And then some will go, they'll make up their mind and they'll become no, we made up our mind, we're just not going to do it right now. And then the agent should have been saying, Okay, I get it. So you did want to move. Do you still want to move? It's just not right now. Yep, we still want to move, but not now. Great. When will that be? When will you feel comfortable putting your home on the market and looking at houses again? Well, when the virus is over. I appreciate that. What does that look like to you? When you say the virus is over, is that when businesses open up? Is that when restaurants are open, even if it's partially open? Or is it when the schools are open and the universities are open? Or is it when stadiums are filling up with 80,000 people? What has to happen in the community for you to tell me, I feel good enough now to go and look at houses? And I'm going to put you down for that. And you know what? You and I don't know when that date will be, but we'll know what it looks like when it's time for you and I to start talking again about buying and selling houses. And the point I'm getting at is people needed to clean up their databases, figure out who's real and who's not. Because I guarantee you, we had over 150 people in our database for the month of April. I'm looking at all of our agents are carrying about 30 each. And I'd say half or more went into the no way, not now, right? So we literally had to totally go in and rebuild our databases. That's the first group. The second group is your Mets. Everybody else, the SOI people, and those people, you should have called them and said, how are you? It's a care call. A lot of you have heard this. I'm not inventing anything here. It's a care call. How are you? Are y'all okay? Are you healthy? Do you need any help? Is there anything I can provide for you? Do you have family members, friends, or coworkers that maybe do have issues about real estate, that are thinking about forbearance because one of them lost a job and they're a dual income family? Forbearance sounds good. It's not necessarily a good thing at all for certain situations. So if you have anyone that you know is challenged and needs some advice, I'd love on your behalf to be their consultant to guide them through decisions about real estate and finance. And if not, keep your ears open, but call me if I can do anything to help you. I'm going to check in on you again in the next 35 to 45 days. And you need to keep cycling back to those people depending on the horsepower you've got. Remember, the native turnover rates are still there, meaning 6, 7, 8% of the population is going to move this year. The question is, a lot of them have stalled out and they're going to pick it back up later in the year. People that thought there would be summer buyers and sellers are now going to be fall buyers and sellers. So we got to figure that out, and you got to call and talk to them. And then the third group you need to go after is stranger business. And there's a much bigger picture that's happening here, John. And the bigger picture is very simple. When the stay-at-home rules hit the entire nation, just think about this for a minute. The massive amount of people who stopped working in an office doing what they did and were now at home and were learning to use technology, AKA Zoom or Google Hangouts or whatever, and they were with their boss or 3 other people on a call, and they were learning how to share a document, think DocuSign, and they were learning how to get deals done and do things. And when they weren't doing that, their phone would go bloop, and there was some video on YouTube that was suggested, and they would just click and look at the video. And what was happening in the entire country is the workforce was becoming much more tech-based, much more tech-based. And at the same time, 2020 was the year that Keller Williams International became a tech company, but the fruit of the vine that we were going to get out of that was supposed to show up in full blossom in 2020. At the same time that the public is saying, hey, guess what? We're all getting focused on tech at a level we've never been focused on tech before. 2.5 months ago, YouTube came out and said, we can no longer stream high definition video. There's so much video streaming going on, all we can do is standard definition video. And when an agent heard that, they should have heard, wait a minute, my entire database is leaning heavy into technology, and they're leaning heavy into video. And you should have looked at command and gone, command, command, Instagram, boosting, YouTube, videos, messaging, $10 ads, boosting my videos. That opportunity is as big as an opportunity as I've seen in this business right now, and it's still there right now. What's going to happen is, and you've already seen this, large corporations are announcing 20 to 30% of the workforce is going to remain virtual. They're not going back. They're not getting fired or furloughed. They're going to stay on the job and they're going to stay virtual. So this shift has gone over to us. And what's happened to us is now agents that are doing virtual open houses, they're not getting 8 people to an open house. They're getting 100 people to watch a virtual open house. You are reaching way more people with video than you're ever going to reach. And that reach is not just Mets, it's strangers. So you need to be attacking video, and you need to be attacking phone and calling or texting or emailing people. So I'm going to spell it out very simply. For what we've been doing and a lot of teams have been doing, you need to be spending 1 hour a day with your pipeline, because pipelines in my experience and other agents in my companies are very turbulent right now. Pipelines are turbulent. Every week something happens. For better or for worse, when we had this civil unrest that we had, John, that changed your pipeline again. Just change your pipeline, right? So things keep changing and you got to stay on top of your pipeline. That's number one. That should be money in the bank. And if you don't wrap your arms around that, that money will quickly leave you, right? So you got to keep your arms wrapped around that. 1 hour a day in the morning, 8 to 9. 9 to 10, you should be calling your sphere, your SOI, and working them with those care calls and asking for referrals. And then 1 hour a day, and this is the hard part for a lot of agents, 1 hour a day, every agent should spend on command. 1 hour. The truth about command and the adoption of command is very simple. If anything is going to get done, anything, if you're going to make sales, if you're going to be with your kids, if you're going to have date night, anything that you want done that matters, you must put time into it, And what agents are not doing in terms of command is putting dedicated time into it. They'll put 3 or 4 hours after they go to a seminar, hear y'all talk about it, get all excited, and they'll put 3 or 4 hours into it. And let's tell the truth here. Agents aren't good with technology, so they'll put time into it. They'll get frustrated if it's not simple. They go, oh, it doesn't work. Oh, it doesn't work. Forget that. And then they'll go excited. They'll get excited a week or two later and try it again. You know what? You know what works well? An hour a day, every day without fail. An hour a day, every day without fail works. So when you commit to doing an hour a day, every day you're picking up where you left off the day before, and you're getting a little better, and you're getting a little better, and you're getting a little better. Spending all day or 4 hours a day trying to figure it all out all at once is not going to work. It's an hour a day. So I just described 3 hours of the day. You add 1 more hour for appointment. I believe every agent should have 6 hours of an 8-hour day, fully blocked, fully committed. The way you stay healthy as a business is that you do specific activities constantly, daily and weekly. You must stay in motion, you must stay in communication, and you must stay motivated to understand one really powerful truth. When times are good, any idiot can sell a house. When times are bad, when times are turbulent, the professionals take over and you can take market share. And if you start focusing on doing consistent work, you can take business away from your competitors. It may not show up in your pocketbook today, but it will show up maybe in the second half of this year or in the first quarter or first half of next year. But taking market share is always about down the road rewards, not about right now rewards. Right now rewards of taking market share is to replace the business you thought you had in your pipeline, but you lost because people freaked out and they're not going to do it until next year. So that's what I think people ought to be doing right now.
Were you a preacher in another life? Because, man, I'm sitting here. I want to go to your church, wherever it's at, because, man.
The church of holy reality, baby. This is holy reality.
Hey, I want to just make a comment to the audience. Any questions you have for Gene, please post it on the chat line, and Michelle and I will run through to make sure we can get as many answered as we can while we have you. I just want to make a couple comments. You mentioned, and I even got advice from you, how clearly you articulated the process to the consumer of, hey, you go to supermarkets, you go to the drugstore, and you're exposed to so much stuff. This is how it's going to happen with us and how we're going to handle it. And you walk them through the process so cleanly, where it's almost like you're giving them an education. You know, you are the professional, and really that's our job as realtors, right? Is to be the expert, and you're giving them expert advice and clarity, because if they're watching the news and talking to their friends, their perception really is not the reality of really what they're doing. You're going out, you're interacting, you're touching handles, you're touching things. I'm going to keep you safe. You're going to have gloves on. You're going to have a mask on. We're going to watch what we're doing, but we're going to actually, you know, make sure you don't stop doing things that are important for you, which is buying and selling a house, right? So I love that. And the one thing I wanted to ask you before we let the audience, you said that rip up your 2020 GPS. So when you ripped it up, what things stand out that actually changed from your 2020 to your to the new one, or the revised one? What stands out about that?
Yeah. Well, like I mentioned, I don't think today's the new normal. You know, in January and February, we're all doing business like this. And then March, the shutdown hit, and suddenly we can only do business like this, all virtual or nearly all virtual, depending on what state you're in, right? And people don't like it, and it was difficult, and it's awkward. When the virus wave has moved past, and I don't know when that's going to be, but it'll be local, it won't be national, right? But when the virus wave has moved past enough, you're going to go to the new normal, which will be this. It's going to be more tech oriented. The Zoom consultations that we're doing, that was all we were doing for about 2 months. And we started asking a question when we were opened up. We started asking a question of all buyers and sellers. And I'm speaking about my team, and I've been talking to my agents in the market centers too. Hey, Bob and Mary, I want to talk to you and Mary about getting that house on the market, and we can do a Zoom call, or we can meet in my office in the consultation room, or in your home. Which do you prefer? And we're finding about half say, oh, the Zoom call works good. And remember, these are people who have been working from home for 2 months on Zoom. And if you read the One Thing book, it says, how many days does it take to create a habit? 66. And a large part of the population is now habituated to doing business on Zoom calls or Google Hangouts. But the point is, they're now very comfortable saying, we'll do a consultation. Don't you need to see the house? Isn't even being asked by them. They're saying, oh yeah, cool, let's do the Zoom call. It's amazing to me. Understand, modalities have shifted. The public is way more tech oriented. And if the agents don't start asking that question that way, would you guys like to meet with a Zoom call or in the consultation room in my office? Which do you prefer? And I guarantee you, they're going to get a significant number of people say, oh, the Zoom call works great. And what this literally means, John, is that agents, when we started doing it, we were simply taking the pre-list package and doing shared documents, but that doesn't scale. So a lot of the graphs and charts, people go, what does that say on that line? You know, they can't read it. So you literally have to recreate your presentation with bigger, simpler, clearer graphics. And you got to get good at this, John. If you're going to really master being a tech agent, you have to master a presentation on Zoom with shared documents and a whiteboard, so you can draw and write for them. And when you get good at that, you're going to start rocking a new generation of business. I mean, you really seriously are. So we've got these two waves to deal with. The virus wave will recede, then reality shows up. And the reality that I'm talking about is the economic recovery wave. How much damage has been done can't be determined until the virus wave has really moved on. And once it's moved on, then we'll see how bad the business losses are, what the true unemployment picture is going to look like. We just don't know what the reality is until the virus has moved past. So right now, we're scrambling for business out of our database. John, I'm answering your question. And we're scrambling to get new business on the internet. And the internet is proving very fertile ground for us through command. We're spending about 35 cents to $1.50 on leads that we're getting, depending on where we're advertising and what the ad buy is. But it's cheap compared to what we were spending on Boomtown and other strategies. Never mind referrals. I mean, it's just crazy good, man. Crazy good. Gary's got us positioned for this without even knowing it. He didn't even know the virus was coming. Yet this is the right time at the right place. But agents have to do the work, and that's an hour a day on command, period. Period.
There you go, hour a day on command. Michelle, what do we got in the chat room? What questions?
So one of the questions, Gene, is after the storm hit the first time and it came through, how long did it get you? How long did it take you to get back up and running in your business again and start seeing those big results?
Well, it hit at the end of August. My wife and I spent the remainder of that year trying to deal with insurance companies, which ended up being a waste of time. I mean, we ended up saying we just can't stay here and keep doing this. We're not making any momentum. We're not, selling houses, right? So we decided to uproot and relocate. It took us in the month of December. We figured out where that was going to be, and we looked all over the country. We looked as far as Denver, Colorado, and anyway. When we made up our mind where we were going to go, then we did this is before KW, but we did a business plan for ourselves, and we knew what we were going to do. And our plan was to do lead generation every day, starting at 5:30 in the morning. And I mean it, 5:30 in the morning. We went to the busiest gym in the part of town where we wanted to do business. And we were there at 6 a.m. exercising. And we found out every day at 6 a.m., there's a whole bunch of regulars. There's about 60 of them that showed up all the time. We left there and went to the best breakfast place in the part of town we wanted to do business in. There was always a line there at 7 a.m. We stood in the line. We didn't stand in line together. I'd stand between people. Rebecca would be 4 or 5 people behind, standing between people, wear our name badges, and we talk to people in the lines. And then we get the newspaper and we look at what meetings were going on in town today. And we say, okay, what meeting are you going to go to? And we split up, and then we go attend meetings where there'd be 20, 30, 50, 80, 100 people, and we just work the room and get out of that room quick. I went to Ducks Unlimited and learned about killing ducks, and then I go to the Audubon meeting and learn about saving ducks. It was an interesting time.
So it just sounds like you did what you needed to do to get in front of the people.
That's
and
right.
to become a member of your community is really what it sounds like. You got involved and you got to know people. When we were doing the prep call, you and I talked about how important physical health is, and you touched on that. But I know that you have a physical health routine that you follow, and I think could you just talk a little bit about your physical health routine and why that's so important for you?
Yep, and it's simple. It's called the Quantum Leap Morning, and it's get up and exercise, eat, fuel your body, meditate and pray, and then hug, kiss, and laugh people you care about, and then get to work. And if you do that, the meditating and the prayer, it's exactly what you started the day on. That reminds you of your purpose. That's your time to just calm down for a minute before all that activity starts. Just calm down and go, what am I about? And what today is the most important thing to connect what I'm about with the activities I need to do today. This is way before the book, The One Thing, but it was getting real clarity on what's the one thing that if I get that done today, I've spent my day well. And if I don't get that done, I kind of wasted the day. And when I got clarity on that, and I still do this today, that moves me forward. So the exercise actually builds energy, and this is a stressful time period. And for you to deal with stress, you have to have energy, and you're going to need a lot of energy to deal with the kind of stress we've got right now. And it starts with working out. Clear your head, working out. And it ends at the end of the day with a glass of red wine.
I love that.
I'm emptying my cellar out, my wine cellar out. So this is like part of my life right now.
I know. I still want to know what your favorite kind is instead of all of them.
I answered you. No, it's yes. It depends
Yes.
on what I eat. It depends on the temperature. I mean, there's a lot of issues there.
Okay. When you're getting these Facebook leads, what's your strategy for connecting with them? So the Facebook leads are
If we get a phone number, don't call them, text them. Text them. Texting is working better for us in getting response over leaving a voicemail and expecting them to call you back. They're not going to call you back. But texting, it's amazing how many people will respond to a text. So we purely, if we get the phone number, we're purely chasing them with the text. Either way, if we get an email address or a phone number, either way, what we're going to do is make an offering. And an offering is the opportunity to make a connection and have a conversation. So we make an offering, and the offering could have been why we have their phone number, right? They want to see the brochure on the property, or they have a question about the property, or they want a list of properties, or they want to find out what their home is worth. They want to apply for a Keller mortgage because we advertise that. They want to see if they can get a cheaper home insurance policy because we advertise that. We advertise the One Thing book. We advertise the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book. We advertise your first home buying book. Everything that KW has given us is great stuff to market online. And people say, yeah, I'd like that. Boom, you get to have a conversation with them. And if they don't want to have a conversation with me, I ain't giving you no book. You want the book? Talk to me.
I love it.
Well, it's true. It's
No,
true.
I know.
So that's what works.
Okay. Another question was, can you elaborate on what has worked for video in your business? And I think that you kind of started touching on that. So you're using all the KW, we call those KW accelerators, right? Like KW Mortgage, KW, the Keller Covered, Keller Mortgage, the books. Is there anything else that you're doing in video that is generating leads for your team?
Well, we've been in the video world for a while now. Several years ago, my wife worked her way into a local TV network. So ABC, the ABC affiliate where we are, they got Rebecca to be their real estate reporter once a month. So once a month, she was on the evening news doing a report. It was always the first week of the month. She was doing a report to them on what the last month looked like in real estate. And we also had video on Tallahassee. So if you were a newcomer, we were marketing free guide to Tallahassee, everything you need to know about Tallahassee. So we have, related to that, we had newcomer packages. So if you're moving to town and you don't know anything, the All About Tallahassee package, you want it. It's like that thick, right? So people need to just think about buyers and sellers and what their orientations are, and then what would they be interested in. And every buyer wants a list of properties. That will never fail. Every buyer wants to know what's available, and every seller wants to know what their house is worth. And those two things built Zillow into a $1 billion company, right? Yep. So we know it works, but there's tons of other offerings that KW agents can make that no other agents can offer. And we have these tools like the Your First Home book and the MREI book and the One Thing book, and I could go on and on and on. And now we have the mortgage, we have the iBuying platform, and we got so much stuff to offer. It's just insanely rich, and agents simply aren't taking advantage of it. How many ways can you spell D-U-M-B? I mean, really, to have this stuff and not use it and have command and say, it doesn't work. And no, I don't give out books. Why would I give out books? That's expensive. Oh my God almighty. If you try to help more people, you'll end up making more money. And helping people often is giving them a book, giving them a chance to save on their mortgage, giving them a chance to check out their insurance. I mean, yeah.
And Michelle, before we transition to get the gratitude to Gene, I seen a question from Floyd, and I was curious about it. He asked about the time you spend away from the business. You know, what's that look like? So you got this busy life and mega agent and wealth builder and landlord. What's the time away like? So God, family, then business. So what's that look like?
Really good. Now, we have a house in the mountains in Canada, and we've had that for, golly, 20 years now. And we have a beach house that we just got through remodeling because my wife and I are selling our big house. Literally, the sign is going in the yard today or tomorrow.
Boom.
And, we're getting rid of that big old sucker because it's just Rebecca and I, and it's way too big a house. I have 4 kids and 2 grandkids. But we're going to be spending our time at the beach house, and we just got a place in Jacksonville near downtown on the water, a brand new building. We have a 20-foot ceiling condo right on the river. It's really pretty. So we're going to spend time there, and then we're going to spend time in New York when we feel good about it. We have an apartment in Manhattan, so we're gonna be in all those locations. But realize I'm a virtual business owner, so I do a lot of Zoom stuff, period. So it really doesn't matter where I am per se. I don't meet with buyers and sellers much. I do. Last week, I went and listed a $650,000 property from a man who's got 2 apartment buildings he wants to sell, and he wants to get more investment property. And he's a Harvard graduate, Harvard Law School graduate. And I read his background because we Google every potential client and look at who they are. And I looked at the team and said, I'll take this one. I'll take this one because this is going to be, no, but this is going to be fun. This is some sharp cookie, and I'm going to volleying with this guy here. By the way, he paid me my fee, no questions.
I would pay you too.
Yeah, Harvard lawyer, take that.
There's no discount here.
No, and it never came up because I knew what I had to do was demonstrate value, and we did that at a very high level, and he didn't even question because I knew he would actually appreciate value, right?
Well, Gene, I think on behalf of everyone on this call, I think we all got a lot smarter and wiser after listening to you. And now I would love to ask.
After my wife, she'll laugh.
I want to ask the participants to give some gratitude to you on the chat box and share the ahas and how you feel after listening to Gene's message. We want to see that chat line blow up. So
while they're doing that, I just want to say one last thing. I want you all to remember this. During the wave of the coronavirus and during the economic recovery wave that'll come after it, underneath all of that, people will be buying and selling houses. It's your job to find them and talk to them. And if you will make that your mission and you will do that, you will succeed. And if you don't, competitors will take market share from you. And that's the bottom line.
I tell you what, always wisdom. And we appreciate you. And I'm sure you're going to see a bunch of love on the chat line from everyone for your message. And hopefully you enjoy the day. I'm sure you'll be on about 10 more of these. And we appreciate you taking time with us today in the greater PA region.
My pleasure. Thank you. And I look forward to what Karina's got to say too. She's one powerful lady.
Sure is. Thanks.
Okay. See you later. Thank you all for the love. I appreciate it. I really do.
Wow, Michelle. Incredible, right?
Oh my gosh. Every time I'm around Gene, he has seriously helped me so much just in my personal life. Every time he would come into the region and we would have him for business planning clinic, he's always checking in on me and checking in on my goals. And I can say that I knew he was coming in October, so I had to do something in July so that when he came in October, I had something good to share with him. And when I was buying my own beach place, he was a big reason why that happened because, just the love and support that he has poured into me over the years is, just phenomenal. So I just wanted to say that thank you to him for that because he's the real deal, Mr. Rivers.
He sure is. How about that accountability and not even have to say anything? That's accountability, right? You're getting ready knowing that you're going to see and have to talk to him and tell him what you've been doing.
And he was gonna ask me, I knew he was gonna ask me, so I didn't want to let him down.
Well, Michelle, I want to transition to talk about in May, we had this powerful day, the Cultural Summit.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
Almost like 1,000 people. Me and you, I think the regional team, we talked and we texted and we were like, oh my God, there was so much positive and emotions and like how much they loved it. And I wish it was because of us, but I think the guests we had really made a difference, and including some of those cultural icons. We had like 49 cultural icons around the 3 states. And then there was 2 individuals that really stood out, right?
We did. So every year, our market centers submit their market center cultural icon to the region, and they become the regional cultural icon. And then the regional team unanimously or we go through, we don't know who we're voting for. So the important thing is when we're selecting our cultural icons, we don't see the names. We just see who these people are and what they stand for. And then we all cast our votes. And this year it was really funny because a lot of the people, all the regional team voted for the same people, and so it was really fun to go through that exercise every year. But especially this year, we were able to recognize Floyd Turner and Cherie Rivera, and we're so excited that we get a chance to hear from them today on number one, what they're doing not only inside of our Keller Williams community but outside, and what just makes them very special people.
Wow, you're right, Michelle. And to me, as a market center owner, that group does so much for the culture. I was reading a book, and it was talking about like having a dog, bringing your dog to work, or having cupcake Fridays is truly not the culture. It's the relationships inside those businesses are the culture, and you two really embody that. Cherie and Floyd. So I just want to welcome you to the call today. You got to hit the mute button.
Thank you.
So we can hear you. That's rule number one. Yeah. So, well, welcome to the call, Cherie and Floyd. And I guess I'd love to just start out this. Cherie, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I am a KW representative. I've been in my market center for over 10 years. I love it there. I love my team. And I'm happy most days just to be helping somebody do something that's important to them.
Awesome, thank you. And Floyd, how about you?
I'm a KW agent as well. I've been in our market center for 5 years. One of the reasons that I chose this market center I knew I was going to start with KW in doing real estate, but the reason I chose this office was based on the familial feeling that I got from the first time I sat down with leadership.
So Floyd, you're big on the KWKC. That's your passion zone. So tell us why.
Yes. Okay. So prior to becoming a full-time agent, I worked with adolescents with mental health and behavioral health and learning disabilities. And that was my passion and my absolute calling. But somewhere along the line, I realized that I was going to bump my head up against a ceiling of achievement, in a sense. And I'd learned everything I needed to learn, and I needed a bigger challenge, and I needed a way in which to be able to give back. And when I got to KW, it was kismet that I was able to be at a Quantum Leap with Mo Anderson. And there it was, hey, here's an opportunity to be able to fill that void that had been missing, for being able to help our youth and guide them.
Well, Floyd, I was, we were talking to the social ambassadors, like with Gary Keller and Jay Papazon, and we were talking about who was going to be on the task force for the national one, and everyone said, you know what, we have to have a representative from KWKC. We have to, and because really, if we don't get the Generation X and get that movement, I mean, that's where it's going to really start in the schools, right? In the younger generations. That it's, I think it means so much, and that's the movement. I know we're in this region. I know you and a lot of others are really purposeful around it. And I think, I ask you and other leaders that we really do that here and really get that push, because we're going to have our own KWKC task force to really get that movement inside that community, because I think that's where the magic's going to happen, in my opinion. So I appreciate you for leaning in and being a big part of that. So thank you.
I completely agree with you, John. And we talk about our mission being sometimes something that we may never see come to fruition. And I think that pouring into that generation is a true mission. And we just have to believe that doing what we're supposed to do and doing the right thing and teaching those folks to do that we will get to what we wanted to see someday.
Wow. Hey, Cherie, You got this thing called Chill Out. Tell us about that. What's Chill Out? What's it mean and what's it about?
Okay, so Chill Out is an acronym for prison ministry that we participate in. It stands for character, honesty, integrity, loyalty, and leadership operating under transition. So we help those who have been incarcerated start thinking a little bit differently about the decisions that they can make and the options that they have so that they, their families, and those they come in contact with also benefit.
I'm sure you did, and there's a documentary called The 13th, and it spells out, you know, when you talk about equality, and you hear some of the stories of the people that were incarcerated for just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you know, how many people that affect, Cherie, the families and the community. You know, for you to stand for something like that and to be behind that, it's such an important thing, because if you think about all the things that occurred in this country now, you know, it's so, it starts so far ago and so long ago. And when you look at the documentation of even how the 13th Amendment was written, and how even when we looked at Gary Keller and Bowman Kitty were having a conversation around the real estate, the wording in the real estate, the realtor, the NAR, how the wording just in the 50s, it had segregation in 1950 and 60. There was segregation in the actual verbiage for the real estate community. It just started to change, you know, and so, you know, for what you're doing is just incredible, because it's just an awareness around, you know, something that a lot of people haven't paid attention to. So I know, Michelle, we're going to share in the chat about KWKC and about Chill Out. If some of our attendees want to get more information or how they can support it, we're going to post that up. But I heard, Cherie, you do some other things too in the Market Center. You hide snacks and stuff around. You trying to make us gain some weight, or what are you trying to do?
I have been accused of that, but that's not actually the intent. It's surprising how a small gift or a little piece of chocolate can lift someone's spirits. I actually started doing that while observing some of my sisters walking through the office. Sometimes it's just really stressful to do business, and a little piece of chocolate or something like that hidden in the kitchen or in their room, it really helps to lift the morale. So I love doing that.
I love that. So I'd like to ask you both a question. I'll start with Floyd. What advice could you give fellow associates, like if they want to get more involved in your KWKC, what should they do, Floyd?
One of the best ways to get involved is the way that I did it, and it's going through our KWKC ambassador, who's Usha Patel. Usha is actually on this on this webinar today. Unfortunately, I don't have her email right here, but Usha, if you would please, if you could just put your email in the chat box, we'd greatly appreciate that, because I think that is the best way. She is one of the best people that I've ever had the privilege of calling a friend, and she makes it so easy for you to become part of this community, and you're welcomed immediately, and she pushes you up to do things that you didn't know that you could. The fact that I'm on this call is probably due to being friends with Usha and just being able to learn from all the great things that she has to provide as far as being a leader in the KWKC community.
Hey, Floyd, Usha just lights up a room, doesn't she? I mean, that smile, it's like, you almost like got a smile when you look at her. She's so cute. You're like, oh, Usha, you know, so that's, when you think about hugging, right? That's the person, you know, you think about when most about the hugs, you got to go find Usha in the crowd. So
as soon as we're allowed to get back to hugging, that's one of the first people I can't wait to get my arms around.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So Cherie, tell us about how we can get more involved in Chill Out.
Well, there's a couple of things. Right now, we're trying to develop transitional housing. A lot of the incarcerated members, who we call kinmates, by the way, we want to let them know that they are immediately embraced and that they are family. they can come to us and just tell us whatever they need, and we try to meet that need. So we have opportunities for work, we have opportunities for housing, job opportunities are needed. Some of them have expressed a desire to be real estate agents. Of course, we're definitely going to guide them in that direction. But more importantly, they need home ownership opportunities of their own. They need to own, they want to own, and we want to make sure that they have an opportunity to do that. So anything that our KW associates contribute, whether it's time, whether it's attention, whether it's financial donations, will be appreciated and used well.
Sure, thank you so much. And you said something real poignant there is, home ownership. When we look at this, you think about grandparents and parents being the role model, and they're renting and not owning home. So I think a big part of our movement would be that we promote that home ownership throughout that community a lot more, because it's the percentages are two-way off, and it starts there. So I'm so grateful for your movement, and whatever we can do in this region to support it, please let us know. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So I want to thank you both, Cherie and Floyd, for being on the call. And just like we did with Jean, I would love for you guys to throw your gratitude and ahas from what you heard about their charities and about what they said in the chat box. And we want to celebrate everything you guys do. And thank you for being our international cultural icons for the greater PA region. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
So Michelle, I see that smile.
I just love all the comments that are coming in, and I loved connecting with Floyd and Cherie before the call and just getting to know them better. I think one of the ways that I get the most joy out of my role is just seeing the amazing people that we get a chance to do business with all the time. And I'm so inspired. When I was on the phone with Cherie, I literally got goosebumps like several times just because of her message and how important I think it is right now for our country. And the work that she's doing is just incredible. And then Floyd, oh my gosh, like giving back to the young people and his heart. And Floyd and I have this thing, I love your face, that him and I have gone back and forth on. And every time I see him, I just want to be like, I love your face. So we are so blessed, John, to have such incredible people in our region that we get to work with every day. It's seriously such a pleasure. So
and they're getting a lot of love.
I will get teary-eyed if I keep going.
Well, there's a lot of love for Cherie and Floyd in this community, and you see it pouring in. How awesome you both are, and we're lucky to have you both in this region. And it's people like you that really are going to make the change in our communities and in our market centers. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So Michelle, what do we got now?
Oh my gosh, you guys are in for such a treat. So the person that I get to spotlight next is Miss Karina Loken. I had the opportunity to meet Karina, oh my gosh, probably 4 years ago now. She attended a class in at KWRI, and her and I connected. And I got to know a little bit about her. So I want to give you guys just a couple of things to know. So number one, her husband Lance and her founded the Loken Group in 2011 with a mission of making a positive impact. And the company consists of their founding brand, the Loken Group. They have a luxury brand, Portfolio Real Estate, and they also have a charity, TLG Gives. Since opening their doors, they've grown to a team of over 80 team members, and they're now #1 in Texas. And with guys, their growth has been incredible. So #1 in Texas, 135 home experiences for $530 million in sales in 2018. They're top team in 2019. And they contribute all of their success to their outstanding team members. And I can tell you guys personally, I have witnessed Karina do this. Anytime I was showing her the picture that we were using to advertise her, and it was like, well, where's the team picture? It's not just about me, it's about the team, right? And so that's just who she is at her heart. And she's also a bodybuilder and does amazing things. She's got 2 wonderful kids, and it's just been such a pleasure to get to know you, Karina, as over the years of just having the opportunity to have just one-on-one conversations with you. We've kind of checked in on each other over the years and just always kind of see where we're at. And I just feel so fortunate to have gotten to know you. And one of the things that we were most recently talking about was just core values and why they're so important to us as women in real estate, and then core values just as being a person in real estate. And so I know you're going to be walking everybody through a values exercise today, but I'm just so happy that you're here with us and that our agents get to learn from you. So,
well, thank you for having me, and what a sweet introduction. And yeah, Michelle was actually my first Market Center financials instructor way back, and made such a huge impression on me, and was just so down to earth. And I connected with her right away. Honestly, I think even just sitting in her class, right? I hadn't even talked to her, and I just felt a connection. And I'm sure that everybody here can think about people in your life that you've experienced that with, and might even be a big reason why you're at Keller Williams, right? Because you met with somebody or did a deal with somebody, or, you know, whatever, right? But it was that connection with someone. And it's so interesting when we meet somebody new, you guys, that we can either feel so connected or not, right? And there, I don't know about you, but I've often not felt a ton of gray area in that space, especially as I just get to hear someone's heart and talk about, you know, whatever their beliefs are. And that was certainly the case with Michelle as she was teaching, and even just the choice of stories that she used to share to even illustrate things about financials, right? Which is not a sexy topic, you guys, right? and yet you can hear somebody's like true authentic self come out in anything that all of us, right, say, and certainly in the way that we act. So that's really part of what we're going to talk about today. I've been a total voyeur over here and reading and listening. I actually was like in 2 meetings at once earlier this morning, and it's been so fun to be watching. We have a little chat. I know Michelle's been watching for your questions and some of the comments and things that people are pulling out. And I'm reading them, and things like the clarity guides your actions, and in turn your purpose has direction and goals can be manifested. Like, I love that, right? That clarity. How many of you feel like you have that kind of clarity in your life? So I can see quite a few of you on screen, and I didn't see a whole lot of hand raising. In fact, I'm going to put more people on screen. And for this exercise, guys, I get energy, I'll tell you, from seeing the actual people. So for all of you who didn't do your makeup this morning and didn't comb your hair or don't have hair, that's okay too. You got the easy morning routine, right? You get more time to meditate. But if you guys will put your faces on screen, I would love that.
So we're in a webinar, Karina. So you're only seeing people who are the presenters. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Because we didn't want to say no to people. We didn't want to say no to people attending, and the only way that we could do that was through doing it this way. So
perfect.
That's why.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Well, so guys, I want you to just think, right, for yourselves. What are the things, even in your own life, where when you've heard somebody talk about it, like even listening to Floyd and Cherie today, like that just gets me so excited, right? Hearing the things that you guys are doing. Well, what is that? What is that energy inside of us that creates this emotion or this connection, right? And all of us in real estate, when we meet clients, now we're going to talk about authenticity today, guys, and you're going to get the real me, right? And I want you to just think about a time when you've walked in and sat down with a client and they were like the best, right? And you're like, oh, I cannot wait to work with this person. They're just amazing. Like, you get goosebumps. You can see them. Maybe it's a buyer. You can see them in like the perfect house already. And you just get so excited for this family, right? Okay, so let's get real with each other. How many of you have ever gone in and sat down with a client and literally within the first minute or two, maybe not even that long, you're like, oh boy, this one's going to be a doozy. I'm not even sure I want to navigate this one, right? Guys, I'm certain, right? And we are here to serve. We are here to take care of clients and meet them where they're at and help them achieve their dreams, without a doubt. But it's that connectedness that we feel with people so quickly. And guys, what we've found is that really comes down to our core values, right? When you're working with people, again, like agents that you've met in the market center or whoever invited you into Keller Williams, I would put money down on the fact that you felt that connection and alignment with things that mattered to you. For Pete's sake, a lot of us have chosen wherever we are, right? Whether we're a KW or whatever brokerage, right? Wherever we've chosen to do our business and grow our business, it's because we feel like we're in alignment. Well, guys, that comes down to values, right? So let's do a little exercise today, because I think, again, reading clarity is power, and we have to know our compass in order to help other people first. To say these things, and so often, and I think, honestly, it's a big thing I'm coming out of COVID with, is to take a look at these statements. I say them all the time, right? Like, we could make a whole quote wall in my office of some of the quotes that I've quoted, and they're good ones, I promise, right? But when you take a minute and you step back and think, like, what is that that's impactful, right? Why does that matter to me? Why did that hit me kind of like a 2x4 right between the eyeballs, right? Why does it matter to me so much? Guys, it boils down to our values. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever really, truly gotten clarity around your values, but I want everybody to get your pen out, okay? And get a piece of paper out, because we're actually going to do an activity today. And my goal for all of you today, as we get through my little talk here with you, is that we can take some of these quotes, these great sayings, these thoughts and ideas, and without a doubt, truths. I mean, without a doubt, right? Clarity really is power, you guys. But let's put them into action. Would everybody be okay with that? All right. So did that give you enough time to get your pen? All right. I want everybody to have your pen and your paper. And here's what we're going to do. Now, we definitely always advocate that you want to make sure we say, here's another saying, we come from curiosity, not from judgment, right? Come from curiosity, not from judgment. What does that mean? That means that we really, truly, when something happens, we have vetted it, we've made sure it's true, right? First and foremost. So I need for all of you today, for this little exercise, to assume, which is always a little dangerous, right? But we're going to assume that we've done that in this particular situation that I'm about to give you, and that we know what we just found out is true, okay? Not just passing judgment. So I'm going to give you a scenario, and I want you to just think that today, when you got done with this webinar, okay, awesome day, you're like, oh, pumped up, this is so good, and I'm like refocused and I feel great, and you get a phone call on your way, like back into life, right? As you're segueing back into checking emails and whatever, and you call that person back that left you a voicemail. You find out that someone in your life, and for this, we're going to use business, okay? Somebody, and if you don't run a team like we do, you still have a team. Would you guys agree? You have inspectors, you have title folks, you have your markets, you have people all around you that are your team, okay? So somebody in your team, your support team, you found out that they did this, whatever this is. And whatever this is, and I'm not going to make your list for you, because I'm going to have you make your list here in a second. Whatever this thing is, or a couple of things, you would fire them for it. You would like, bam, we can't be in life together. Okay? So fast. You wouldn't maybe even be tempted to not come from curiosity, because it would just, it upset you so much. Do you guys get that emotion? Have you ever had that experience? Now, I'm not talking like the client thing where you like them or you don't like them. This is like no tolerance. Okay? So this is your scenario. You made that call back, and this is what you found out, that somebody in your business world did. Now, I bet your brain right now is even thinking of a couple of things, maybe 4 or 5 things. And I want you right now, when I say go, to write them down as fast as you can. Okay? So you just found out somebody did something and it's so bad in your opinion, you'll fire them. You don't want them in your business anywhere near you. Ready, set, go. Okay, stop. All right, that it probably wouldn't take you very long to make your list, would it? And usually when people make this list, guys, they come up with about 5 or 6 things. Not usually a whole lot more than that, right? Because these aren't the like, well, depends on the scenario. I'd probably have to think about, right? These are like, no way. So I want you to look at your list and just look at the first one on your list. And I'm going to just put this out there. I'm going to guess that a few of you might have put lying. Okay, that's usually a pretty common one. Okay, so I want you to look at that word lying, and I want you to think, or whatever your first word is, just take the first one. I want you to think about what is the opposite, the antonym, my first grade teaching days, the opposite word that's the positive. And write that down beside it. Just right off to the side. So if you wrote lying as your first word, right next to it, write the positive that's the opposite, or the antonym, for my fellow first grade teachers. Okay. Now here's the fun part, you guys, is when we do this in a great big room and everybody, and maybe when we can get a little bit of some sharing, right, in the chat. Michelle, are people able to share some of the things? So guys, let's do this. I would like to just throw that one word out there. If anybody had the word lying, I'd like for you to please share in the chat with Michelle what your opposite positive word was. Instead of lying, what is the opposite? And Michelle, I'm not a betting woman. I get hives at casinos, so I don't go. But I am going to bet on this one that you're going to get different words that are the opposite for people. And it's all about the same word, yes?
Yep. Truth, honesty, open. We've got, there was one up here, integrity. There was ethical. There was honesty and truth are a lot of the responses. Truthful, honesty. Yep. But there's like 4 or 5 different variations of what that means. Open.
Yeah, open. That's an interesting one, isn't it?
Clarity.
Okay. So let's think about it, right? Honesty, that one always pops up a lot. Integrity. Now those 2 words really do mean different things though. Would you agree? And open, I love that because that's even more different, right? So today, even as Michelle and I were talking about like all the cool things that you guys are going to get to do today and how I could contribute into this group, being authentic was one, right? And so without being able to like kind of pick that apart with somebody, my guess is that for that person or a couple of people that shared that being inauthentic, right? Or not being honest about themselves, right? Or about a situation is kind of where they're falling into play. It might not even be like a direct untruth. Okay, do you guys see that? But here's the cool thing. For all of us, those differences, even though they're small, they're big. You guys, they're huge. So I want you right now, look at your list. And very quickly, I want you to go right on down and just write what your antonym or your positive opposite is for each of the words that you wrote. And maybe you only came up with 2 or 3 because I know I only gave you a few seconds to do it. Maybe you have, 5 or 6. And again, most people usually don't get past 5 or 6, maybe 7 sometimes. So here's the cool thing. I want you to look at that positive list. And I will always give credit where credit's due. I wish I could say I was smart enough to come up with this little exercise for you guys today. And a couple of years ago, I was teaching 30, 60, 90, and one of the folks in class shared that one of their MAPS coaches had helped them do this activity. And I never yet have found the MAPS coach. So I'm going to keep telling how to do this activity until somebody goes, that was me. But, thank goodness for our MAPS coaches. They're so much smarter, right? And guys, look at your list because you just got a really good start on your core values for your business. Just in that short amount of time. We talk all the time at KW, for sure, and just in business world in general, right? That to sit down and create our mission, our vision, and our values right off the bat, that really does become our roadmap. It becomes our compass. It becomes, all the things that we quoted even earlier, right? It gives us that clarity. What's most important to us? And we right now have a team of 87 wonderful folks. And as we have grown our organization, you guys, actually in 2015, I sat down and I looked at everybody who hadn't stayed with us. Now, I want to put this in perspective because the very first full-time person we ever hired to the Loken Group is still with us today. Okay. And we have a lot of folks in our organization that I could say, in fact, they're so funny. They keep count of the number of when they were hired. They're like, I was number 5. I was number 7. You know, it's cute. It's fun. And it's something we're all so proud of. And here's why. Here's why we've stuck together and why we're so proud of how we've all shown up over the years together. And it's because our values are in alignment. I made a list of the folks that weren't with us, and either they discovered they needed a new opportunity or we needed to help them discover that they needed a new opportunity along the way. And as much as we joked about that, guys, that really was as true as it could be. They needed a different opportunity. Ours wasn't it, for whatever reason. But I wanted to really kind of dig into why, right? And so I sat down with our list of the folks. And again, it was 2015, so it wasn't a gigantic list. And we had a lot more turnover in the beginning than we do now, but I would say there were probably 30 or so folks. And as I made just a note beside each one of what the reason was we weren't in business together anymore, it was 100%, every single person on that list, it was because of a values misalignment. And then how that showed up, right? So maybe it was they had a huge priority on having every evening with their kids because of whatever their environment was when they grew up. And that was just so important. Well, guess what? In real estate, I don't know about you guys, but we haven't figured out yet how every single night, we were home for a lot of them, but you know, there's some nights where if I'm going to be available for my clients, I need to block that in and be available, right? This might not be the right opportunity. And that doesn't make anybody right, doesn't make anybody wrong. It just means that our values are different. And I hope that you guys can see that. So again, I want you to just reflect back on your list, right? Gene, God, I love that guy. And Gene was talking about how that morning time, right, in his meditation and prayer time, that brings him back to why he does what he does, right? Every day. It just kind of recenters him and grounds him. Guys, I'm going to challenge you to look at that list. And I want you to just think about some of the decisions that you've had to make in the last week or so. Now, I don't know about you. We have had a lot of big decisions in my world to make in the last week or so, right? There's a lot of big decisions being made in the world right now, for Pete's sake. Important, like really important decisions. And guys, as you look at that list, I want you to think about where your values showed up in the decisions that you made. What were the decisions that you were really proud of making and how you handled them? What were the decisions that kind of left that pit in the bottom of your stomach? I hope I'm not the only one that does that every now and then, right? But I'll tell you what, I do that a lot less these days, and here's why. When I'm faced with whatever choice or decision that I need to make or that our team needs to make as a whole, right? And Michelle said, like, we don't operate like this is not a Lance show or a Karina show or Lance and Karina show. God bless them if it was. It would be, maybe people would pay tickets to see that one. But guys, this is the Loken Group show, right? So how can we, with 87 people, keep making decisions that all of us are comfortable with? Like, that's a lot of decision makers all making decisions about one thing, right? One engine or ship that's sailing together. It's because these core values are in alignment. So when you're faced with making decisions about money, a lot of us are right now, right? What we're going to save money on, what we're going to spend money on, what we're not going to spend money on. That's a biggie for us right now too, right? Well, those core values make those decisions so easy. I don't know how many of you have kids. I have, and all I have to say is 2 teenage daughters. We have a lot of decisions in that space right now too. What are we going to let our kids participate in? What friends are we going to intervene in those relationships, right? I mean, like, all these things creep up in life, not just in business. And guys, when I can look at that list and go, yep, I can see just those quick values, that makes my decision so easy, right? It's with my family, it's with my business. You know, I teach that little exercise when I'm teaching career visioning. Well, that's about hiring, right? It's how we want to grow our business, what leverage we need, even in the decision of what the next leverage is that we need. Those values pop up every time. So now I'm going to challenge you to take your values list and go one more step, because like you saw, the word lying, most people, they have a different filter system, right? And that's why when we got those examples back of what the positive word was, that we had different positive words. So what we've spent, and it took us, I'll be honest, this is not an overnight thing, you guys, and I really want to challenge you to spend some time in this, in your prayer time, your meditation time, right? You're on the business time. So important. We don't spend enough time thinking, honestly. We have to take action. But guys, if you take just a little time thinking, you have so much more time to take action, because all the hard decisions go away, okay? But here's the deal, and this is the magic in that list. I want you to take each of those words, and tonight, tomorrow, this weekend, sometime before next week starts, I want you to just write your very first draft of what those words mean to you, okay? What do those words mean to you? If you were going to describe back to me or to anybody what the word honesty really means, what that looks like, how does it show up? What about that is important to you? What about honesty, being honest in the business is important? Guys, when you can define that and explain it in not just a one word, right? Because again, the word lying, that has a lot of meanings to us, right? How many of you have ever gone into a client and you say, what were the challenges you've had in the past when trying to buy or sell a house? And they say, communication. Am I the only person that's ever heard that one? Guys, if all of us wrote down the first 5 words in our head that came to mind when somebody said communication, how do you define it? I would challenge that all of you on this webinar, we wouldn't have one list that was the same, right? We use words in our language, but because of our life experiences, because of our filters, because of our values, we define each of those words a different way, okay? So truly the magic, the secret sauce, the bullet, whatever, in that list of values is for you to get clarity around what those words really, truly mean for you and your business. Now, you might be saying to yourself, it's not just me and my business. I have a partner. I'm a husband-wife team. God bless you. I have an executive team, right? We have a couple of people that are our core group. So what do I do? Like, what if it's not just my decision? You know what's so cool, you guys? Now, again, it's really important when you're doing this with someone else to make sure that you're very focused around it being business, because you might have a couple of personal core values that are additional, right? Or you might define a little bit differently. But this core set, this is what your roadmap is, right? Nobody wants to ever get in an airplane, nobody, and have the pilot not have any idea where they're going or what those levers do when I push them on or turn them off, right? Okay, that is not experiment space. That is when clarity is power. Guys, if you do this with your group of people or with your business partner or with your spouse, whether you're in business together or not, right? What a powerful exercise for you to really sit down and define those words together. And that's exactly what we did. We actually, Lance and I, so week 1 of us getting into business together, we sat down at the dining room table, same dining room table we still have today with the pug dog scratches the whole way across the top. Fun memory. And we wrote down our mission, vision, values. Okay. And honestly, over the years, we've edited, because our mission statement came off of Lance's resume, and it was like 80 words and not really a mission statement. But it was a starting place, right? And it got us going because we both of us were in agreement that that's who we are. That's why we were attracted to each other. Funny thing, right? Well, what was in that mission statement was an awful lot about our core values and how we operate. So we wrote our mission statement, we wrote our vision, we wrote our goals, and then we wrote our values. And what's so super cool is over the years, as we've grown as an organization, we sat down with about 60 at the time of our agents, is the size of our business, and we rewrote our mission statement because Lance's resume just wasn't cutting it anymore. And what was so interesting Okay, now think about this. Our team meets once a week, every week, usually in person, and lately on Zoom. And we meet for about an hour. That's it. And two of the gals on our team came to us and said, you keep trying to get us to memorize this mission statement and nobody can do it. You can't even do it. Like, something's got to give. What if we actually made this mission statement, cleaned it up a little bit, made it like 10 words or less like it's supposed to be? Would you be comfortable with that? Because it was very personal to us, right? Well, sure enough, we said, let's do it, but everybody has to be part of it. Everybody. Kind of to Michelle's point earlier, this is how we play. So we put all 60 of us in a room. We educated everybody on like what a mission statement's supposed to look like, maybe not 80 words, 70 or less would be preferable. Not really, like 10 words or less. How can we do this, you guys, right? Guys, we spent about 10 to 15 minutes for 4 team meetings. That's it. And the first one was to teach everybody what a mission statement really was, right? And why it was important and what we wanted to get out of it and why we were even taking the time to rewrite it, okay? Now you're probably thinking, rewrite a mission statement? Like, did your mission change? Nope. Nope, only the semantics. That's it. It was literally just making it shorter because as we've gotten clarity over the years, in order for us to truly be able to communicate to other people what our mission statement was, 80 words wasn't doing it, okay? Nobody could like grab onto that. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Simon Sinek's The Golden Circle, right? It's one of my favorite little YouTube videos to watch. And if you've not ever watched Simon Sinek talking about his golden circle, stick that in your notes right beside your core values. Because here's the thing, guys, all of us have a different list of values and nobody's values are right or wrong. And Brene Brown, one of my favorite authors, right, talks over and over about us being enough, exactly who we are, that we're enough. And you are exactly who you are enough, right? You're wonderful. And when we show up as our true authentic self, we find those connections with people, right? That magical space where you walk in and you sit down and you're like, I get you. I like you. I want to do business with you. Like, you feel it. Look, I'm talking about it. I'm getting goosebumps all over me, right? Because I've over the years gotten more clarity about what that looks like. I can see it in my head. And it's not like a picture of one person. It's I can almost see, if it makes sense, the feelings that we both have, right? Because it's that true joy and fulfillment. We're connected. I get you, okay? I trust you. It's a good feeling, isn't it? So for 60 people in the team meeting, it took us 4 team meetings, 10 to 15 minutes each meeting. During the week, we'd send our ideas. They'd throw them all on a page. We'd shorten the list, come back. Guys, 60 people unanimously agreed on our mission statement in less than a collective hour of time. Now, how in the world can that happen? How? It's because our values were in alignment. That truly is the secret sauce. And again, and why I just got goosebumps. When you can be authentic, you can show up who you are and be okay with it and know you're enough. Know you're amazing, right? Be comfortable in your own skin. Know that the choices you're making them because that's what's most important to you and how you show up. Guys, there is no better feeling. There really isn't. And, we have a MAPS coach. Actually, his name is John Vanderganst. If none of you have experienced John, he's amazing. And he is a transformational coach with MAPS. And he actually coaches every member of our exec team and even does some group coaching with like our bench of coaches with TLG. And at the very beginning of COVID, he asked a question, and I'm going to leave you guys with this today. As you're kind of considering what else might be on your values list, right? I'm sure you haven't exhausted it. And as you write those definitions, because that's so important, you guys, and I'm going to just count on everybody to have that level of accountability that Michelle has with Jean, because you never know when I'm going to see you and I'm going to ask you what you wrote down when you defined your values, okay? But John asked us one of the most profound questions I've ever heard, and it doesn't just apply to COVID. It applies to every part of our lives, all the time, especially teenage daughters, okay? Here's the question. You ready to write this down? When this is over, whatever this is, when teenage daughters and you survived that, right? Or when this COVID thing is over, whatever that is, I'm not even sure what that'll look like, right? However you define it, the cool thing is none of us have to have the same real definition. But at each marker in our lives of whatever those important parts of our lives are, I want you to write down for yourself right now, how do I want to show up? How do I want to be able to say I've shown up when this, whatever this is over? When my kids are both grown and both in college, see that assumptive language I'm using? I hope you guys know what that is, right? How do I want to say I showed up as a mom? When COVID brings us back to sort of kind of new normal, whatever that looks like, right? And all of our emotions have been running super high and we've had new decisions to make and we've had challenges that we've overcome. How do I want to say I showed up? Now I want you guys to actually write the answer to that right now. And let's just use that as an example, right? There is no doubt about it, in the throes of coming out of this COVID craziness. That's what I've titled it, just craziness. Just the next hiccup. It's like our national hurricane, right? Okay, but it's been a big deal. So when this is over, or we're at the next phase of it, right? We talk a lot about making plans for the next 90 days. Guys, think about it even in the next 90 days. 90 days from now, how do I want to be able to look back on these last 90 days, this last quarter, and say I showed up? Okay, did everybody write your answer down? Like actually answer the question. Perfect. So beside your answer, not my other question, beside your answer, I want you to write these words right in front of it. In times of choice, I choose to, and then your answer. In times of choice, I choose to blank. How did you want to be able to say you've shown up? Now, look back over real quick at that list of values that you wrote. I'm going to guess that however you wrote in your ideal world, how you're going to show up, what you're going to be able to say, like, this is how I showed up as a leader, as a friend, as a parent, as a coworker, as an agent, as a consultant, as a human being. That's even a real conversation right now, right? As a community member, how did I show up? And guys, I'm hopeful for you that you are in alignment with that core values list, because here's the cool thing. That authentic self, that's it. Right there. If you're living and you're showing up in alignment with your core values, when we talk about being authentic, that's it. So what do you guys think? What are you going to do with your lists?
Well, I have goosebumps again based on our conversation, so I'm sure other people do too. And we're going to start seeing comments in the chat channel, I'm sure. We got a couple coming in. In times of choice, I choose to step up and lead. In times of choice, I show up caring with sincerity and authenticity. So those are just a couple that are coming in right now. In times of choice, I choose to be the authentic about how I feel and show up, to be fearless, not quit, and I took action are some of the things that are coming through right now. So they're really, really powerful words.
Love it.
So Karina, my follow-up question for you is, in times of choice, and we're in a lot of time of choice right now, how have your decisions allowed your team to come together to be stronger, and what are the tangible results that you're seeing as a business owner? So at the end of the day, we're all real estate professionals, and getting really clear on our values and really clear on how we want to show up is really important, because at the end of the day, we want to have results, right? We want to have a big business. We want to have a big life.
We want the airplane to land where we wanted it to, right?
Exactly. So how are you seeing being connected to your core values showing up inside of how you guys have been successful through COVID and continuing to have business and all of that? How's that worked for you?
Um, well, it's worked quite well if you really want to know results. And Michelle didn't know, you should never ask a question if you don't know the answer. And there's no way you would know the answer to this, but you know, it was a little slow for us in the beginning too, just like everybody else. You know, just as we were all kind of figuring out, like, what are we going to do? How are we going to really, you know, go virtual? How do we just make accommodations? How do we function in a new working environment? Like, what do we do? And that was really the question, right? So from an initial standpoint, the result that we saw show up was like very quick acceptance and open-mindedness that we had a new scenario and we just had to figure it out. Like, it wasn't even a question of if we can, like, that word just, it didn't exist. It was never, well, if we can't go do da, da. It was, okay, so we can't go take photos in that county right now. How can we still get photos of those houses, right? That was the question. And so our team showing up that way on the front end then was, okay, what are the activities we need to do to still hit our goals? How are we going to still hit our goals, right? Are we going to keep the same goals? Are we going to increase our goals? But how are we going to hit our goals? So you know, we always talk about our leading activities and our leading measures, and then our lagging measures and the lagging results, which would be, you know, contracts, closings, the good stuff, right? So we actually set all-time records last month for set appointments for our company, all-time agreements signed for our company. And guys, as of right now, looking at our June closings, we have 121 resale closings on the books. And our biggest month in the history of the company was 106.
Wow. Well, I knew I could ask you that question because I know you, number one, and I was not afraid to ask you the question because I know how you show up, and I know when you have a team that's in alignment, and if they're anything like you, they're not going to take no for an answer, and they're going to keep moving forward and figure out the solutions, right?
Always.
So that's amazing.
And yet, guys, and I want to be real about this, right? And yet, the very first thing we did, it happened in Hurricane Harvey. Like, we're only 2 years from the last one of these major, you know, crises, whatever, right? Fascinating times in our history. Let's call it that. In bold, I always learn, we call traffic in Houston, it's fascinating. And you just keep telling yourself that. All right. But guys, seriously, like, our team just never, like you said, Michelle, it was never like, oh no. But let's be real, you guys, we all had to kind of figure it out, right? Like, there's no doubt that there's been fears and family members sick and like just a lot of life here with, you know, all the rioting. God, I mean, I have some friends there in Philly, and just, you know, there's just been crazy, crazy stuff that's happened in the last few months of all of our lives and hitting us from all different directions, right? Things we never, ever imagined on so many levels. And the reality is, in each of those decisions, I don't think we ever stopped, because we always had like the candle, like I'm seeing Thomas Jefferson's candle right here in front of me, right? That just kind of kept leading the way. And it was the ease in making decisions. And the very first one was, we're going to care first. We're going to care first, right? And business is super important. And all those results are awesome. And I promise you it happened because we called everybody in our data bank, our ISAs, everybody on our team, our admin, everybody made phone calls. And we have about 8,000 people in our database. About 4,000 are local forever clients. And then we have about another 4,000 that are all of our out of town and our Mets and our Sphere and everybody else, right? And forever client for us, you probably call them a past client, same thing. We called all of them, all 8,000. And we tried to call a lot of them twice to just check in, not to talk about business, not to sell them a house, nothing, just to check on them. And I'll tell you what, the decision to make those calls first, guess how we made that decision?
Based on your core values.
I'll give you one guess. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Made it really easy.
So a couple of people have put questions, and if you have questions for Karina, you can drop them in the chat. One of them from Darlene said, "What can we do to take our business onward?" So if people were starting today and they hadn't made those calls yet, and you were giving somebody advice, because when you and I talked, Pennsylvania was shut down, and then, right, so just in the last couple of weeks, we've been able to start opening again. What advice would you give to an agent who is looking at either just starting right now as a new agent, because we have some of them on the call, or really just refocusing and moving forward? What advice would you give?
Honestly, well, sorry. I always tell people, be careful what you ask, because I'm always going to tell you what I'm thinking, right? The other day on Facebook, guys, this is authentic. This is me. Somebody on Facebook the other day asked, what's the first thing you consider when you get dressed in the morning? And I said, whether or not I shave my legs. Like, be real with people, right? But I'm going to tell you right now, I think that your new agents are honestly some of the luckiest out of all of us. And here's why. And it's personal experience. I was brand spanking new. In fact, I had to wait to take my test for my license in 2008 when Hurricane Ike hit. All these hurricanes. Funny thing. And I couldn't even get to the testing site. There was no power for some areas, no power for 2 weeks, right? And the same thing happened then that just happened to all of us in COVID. Like, it was like the world just stopped. Now, it was isolated to Houston and our area, not nationally or internationally even, right? But I watched the same thing happening as I'm like going, they let me still come into the office, and I could still take, back then it was called Camp 443, right? Now it's Ignite. I could still go in and like be part of the class and whatever. And I'm watching these agents, and they're like deers in headlights. And I was the new guy, and I got on the phones. My team leader said to me, when do you think you get paid in real estate? And I'm like, I'm so smart. I was like, well, the day you go to closing and they give you that check, right? And she's like, wrong. And I was like, what do you mean wrong? Of course it is. Like, that's payday. And she goes, nope. She said, payday is every day you wake up and you make calls. And she said, any day that you wake up and you don't make calls, you don't get paid. And I was like, okay, tell me more, because that made no sense, right? I mean, I was so dumb. I didn't know what I didn't know at this point. And thank goodness I was, because I took her word. Like, I trusted her. I was like, she knows more than me. And guys, I just got on the phone. In my first year, I was rookie of the year. I closed 21 transactions by myself after a hurricane had just stopped Houston. Like, we had to wait until everybody could come out. People's roofs, it was a really windy hurricane, and so many people lost their roofs, and nobody would close on their properties. And we had one agent, and I always just thought he was so stellar, who was a seasoned agent. And still, like, I'll never forget, he came in and taught a little class for us early on, and he had no closings. And people were like, well, what are you doing with your time, right? Like, people were so jaded because they were so used to having the business come at them, right? And he goes, well, I block my time. I do my lead gen. And when I'm supposed to have a closing, if I don't have an appointment, I go to the closing tape. He said, I go to the closing company, and they let me borrow their conference rooms because they're not having closings right now. And I sit down and I visualize the closing I'm having. But I don't stop. And I was like, this guy's smart, right? And there were very few people that took that approach. So many people got lost in the, what about, right? Scarcity stuff, worry. But I'll tell you what, you guys that are new, right? Like, embrace the fact that you don't know what you don't know, and get on the phones and get after it. And for those of you who aren't new, get on the phones and get after it, you guys, right? Like, let's make hay, because the sun is starting to shine, and there are so many people who want to buy and sell houses right now. And like, just keep asking yourself, how do we blank? Whatever it is, whatever your next hurdle for the hour, for the minute, for the day, for the week, whatever, on your 411, how do we, and tackle it?
You're so amazing. Thank you so much for walking us through the values exercise and really helping us get clear, and then giving us the follow-up, because I think that when we start to write down what those words mean to us, we can start to articulate them to our clients, to our teams, to the people that matter to us, and really help us show up as better business people. So thank you so much for your time today. I don't know if you've had a chance.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I don't know if you've had a chance to look in the chat, but there's so much stuff. And guys, let's give Karina lots of gratitude in the chat channel. Let her know how much she meant to you today. There's so many ways that you've helped people understand their values better, Karina. It's priceless. So thank you,
Awesome.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Good. Thanks
John,
for
I'm
having
going
me.
to turn it back to you, buddy.
Thank you. And thank you, Karina. You are awesome. You know that. You two are
Well,
game changers for this company. So thank you.
the new day every day. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Michelle. Man, I tell you, there's so much value in these calls, and I could just see it on the chat line how powerful it's been for so many of the viewers. So I'm excited, and wow, you think it got great, and then it just gets greater, right? I'm just honored to talk about our next keynote. And if you don't know Jeff Hoffman, a successful entrepreneur, proven CEO. Michelle said earlier, the founder of Priceline.com, and I love the Grammy-winning jazz album. As a jazz fan, I was like, wow! And just executive producer of Emmy Award-winning TV shows, serial entrepreneur. The thing that I loved about Jeff the most was when he was on with our top 100. He said any small business that didn't get a grant or through SBA, him and some other partners created another entity to give grants to these small businesses that were still struggling or failed to get that grant. So just an amazing human being. And Jeff Hoffman, welcome to the call today, man. We appreciate you being on today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me back. And thanks for mentioning that grant program. I'll just say something really quick before we jump in. That's a grant program that my friend, I don't know what kind of music you guys listen to, but Pitbull, the rapper. Although, by the way, Pitbull always says, I'm a reporter, not a rapper. And I love that line. But he and I and an organization, my organization, Global Entrepreneurship Network, and another organization we work with called Hello Alice, are just giving $10,000 cash to as many struggling entrepreneurs out there in the country as we can, because the government's not getting to them. So these aren't loans. We're just giving out cash grants to help people stay alive right now. So thanks for even mentioning that.
And Jeff, there's a whole lot of realtors. So I think the realtors are small businesses. Is that correct?
Absolutely. The ultimate entrepreneurs. They just don't usually call themselves that.
So, so if you didn't get the SBA loan, you have another opportunity through Jeff and Pitbull, which is pretty cool to have a chance. And I'm sure we'll put that in the chat box there, Jeff.
Yeah, by the way, it's COVID19businesscenter.com if they want to apply.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And today, Jeff, you're going to talk about the 3 R's for small business survival. I know you shared a little bit to our top 100 group. And this is even a larger group here to share that. So I would love to hear more about the 3 R's.
Absolutely. So we'll do a kind of shortened version in the interest of time, since you guys have such a busy day, and I want to make sure we have time for some interactive Q&A as well. So in this time, one of the things that I do now, I spent my whole life building companies, but now one of my activities is I'm the chairman of something called GEN, the Global Entrepreneurship Network. And we work with small businesses and entrepreneurs. We have people on the ground in 180 countries now to help everybody everywhere build their own business. So all day long, I listen to entrepreneurs and small business owners around the country and around the world. And that obviously includes your industry, realtors, because you're the ultimate entrepreneurs. You literally run your own business from every angle, from marketing to cash flow, to team, to hiring and HR and everything. So we kept on hearing the same messages. A lot of people, when COVID hit, when the pandemic hit, and you couldn't go see houses, and a lot of people pulled them off the market, and other people decided not to buy right now because they were concerned about the economy, or they weren't working anymore, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of people were sitting at home, unable to kind of do their core business. And so we were, in listening to that a lot, I came up with these 3 R's, which are sort of tips on what you can do. Instead of just surviving, we should actually, you shouldn't hope to just survive this time. You should hope to thrive in this time and actually find a way, excuse me, to come out ahead. So here are the 3 R's. The first one, I'll tell you what they are. And actually, we have a little graphic that we can post. I can get you guys later as well. It's like a little poster. But they are repurpose, retool, and redeploy. And the first one, let me just do each of these briefly. Repurpose is all about, well, let me tell you the exercise that I want you to do. So it starts by doing this. Is doing this on a whiteboard or on a sheet of paper, literally not right now. I only have a few minutes with you, but do this when you get a chance. On one side of the whiteboard, I want you to write down all your skills and talents and resources. I want you to really take a deep internal look and say, here are my skills, right? Here's what I know how to do, my talents. What are the things that I'm good at? What is it you have to offer the world? What are your skills and talents? And by the way, resources. If you have a team of people, then you have additional resources that aren't you personally, but that your team have. You might literally even have vehicles that were purchased by the agency or office space. List everything you have to offer the world. So again, on the left, we're going to take a self-assessment and we're going to list our skills, our talents, our resources, our assets on one side of the board. It's a good time to do that anyway, because most of us have never taken the time to really assess what we have, who we are, and where we are right now. So we start with that exercise on the left, and now let me do repurpose first. On repurpose, what we're going to say, again, okay, sorry, I left rehydrate off of the wall. Apparently I should have put rehydrate up there, and I did not get myself water. I'm giving a lot of talks all over the world, so I apologize for my voice. So in repurpose, on the right side of the board, we're going to write down the new world. What has changed? What do our customers need today that they didn't need or really know about yesterday? And you can already see what we're going to do with this exercise. We're going to try to map your talents and skills to a new set of needs that our customers didn't even have yesterday to find new business opportunities and ways to enhance yours. So let me just talk about 3 of those new needs right away. The first one let's do is education. All of the schools closed. All of our customers and prospective customers suddenly found their kids at home. Here's what happened. Schools, many schools across the country did not have a virtual education program. They did not do online learning. They had no idea how to do it. Panic in the schools. Many teachers didn't really know how to manage a Zoom class and manage a virtual student. Then when we went to students, many students were not comfortable in a Zoom environment and weren't sure how to learn that way. And then many parents said, what am I supposed to do? My kid is at home. How do I assist in their virtual learning? And what other things, when they started seeing the online learning, they said, how could I be improving my kid? What else? What other tools should I be using? What other online learning should I be doing? Suddenly the parents decided that a lot of parents that weren't as actively involved in their children's education said, I need to be a bigger part of it. So what I'm asking you is, with your skill set on the left and a new business need on the right, which is how to better train and manage our children's education from home, any ideas you have, it literally might be something that you're doing for your kids. What I want you to think about is, are your ideas good enough to be products? Could your ideas for what's working with your kids be turned into a newsletter that you could send? Karina was talking about their 8,000 customers. A newsletter, in your newsletter to 8,000 customers, say tips for improving your child's education at home. They didn't used to look to you to be their education expert, but you might just be if you have good ideas. Or maybe you should spend a few nights staying up, Googling and finding out what are the best online education platforms and what's working, and providing that as a service to your customers. So I know people now who are in the online education consulting business. They're actually getting paid to give advice and recommend tools to parents around the country. Similarly, work from home. And I mentioned this the other day on the Top 100 meeting, that WFH didn't even used to be a thing. No one knew what it meant. And now when you type somebody, what are you doing? And they text back WFH, we all know that means they're working from home. So all of a sudden, we were all sent home and our team members were home and they couldn't go to the office. And many people had never used Zoom, and they didn't know what Slack was. And now there's new tools like Jitsi and Remo, and Google upgraded Google Hangout to Google Meet. All these tools and techniques for better collaboration with our teams and working at home. And so there's another huge market need. Everybody is saying, what is the most effective way I can manage my team remotely? Maybe a lot of people are telling me, we used to meet in the office 5 days a week, and now we're going to go to 2 days in the office for meetings and 3 days letting everybody work at home. But if we had even better and better online collaboration tools. So my question is, what skills did you write on the left? What skills do you have that might enable you to develop a product or make recommendations, improve the virtual workforce? That is a huge opportunity, and people are launching new businesses and new consulting to their customers and improving your own team and your own staff, the way that you guys work from home every day. The last one I'll just throw out there is online healthcare, right? Telemedicine is suddenly a new thing. My doctor himself said to me that I just did my first ever Zoom patient visit. He said, at my age, Jeff, I never thought I'd be having a patient visit using technology. And now I'm trying to figure out how to run my medical practice this way, just as my patients are trying to figure out how to use online technology and preventative in-home tools to diagnose themselves. So here's an idea. Maybe that's a new area that you study, and that's part of your newsletter. If you have shut-ins or elderly people in the community that you serve, they probably could use some advice and some help in online medicine, telemedicine, and virtual healthcare, in the same way they need help with education and work from home. These are business opportunities that you could be building products with your skills, or you could be consulting to customers, or you could at least be helping them with, and being known as the neighborhood as, you know, not just buying and selling a house. By the way, that's a big question for me, because I called a realtor the other day about a house I was interested in, and the realtor said, well, they won't let anybody visit because they're still living there. And I said, well, how am I going to see the house? And he said, well, let me see what I can do. How was that not already answered? How did he have to think about a way to give me a virtual tour or a video tour or some way to sell me a house? But he said, let me look into that. So even in your business, a lot of people aren't there. So that's repurpose. Look at the skills you have and figure out what else you can apply your skill set to. Now let me do retool. Retool. So we've made on the left, we've listed our skills inventory. What are you honestly good at, and what capabilities do you have, and what resources do you have available to you? Now I want you to look at that and ask yourself this question. What is a skill set that you always wish you had? You might not know the answer without thinking about it, or maybe that you see somebody that's amazing out there and they have it. It might be a competitor or someone you look up to, some skill they have that you don't. What is a skill set, a talent, a resource you really wish you had but you've never had time to develop? Because here's what I want you to commit to. During this pandemic time, when we're at home much more than we used to be, and we're online much more than we used to be, you should commit to adding one more skill or talent to the left side of that board. So I'm going to give you an example. I was asking one group, what is a skill set that you wish you had? And he said, or a talent. And he said, Jeff, I keep reading the words artificial intelligence, but the truth is I don't really know what it is. And I don't know how to use it in my business. So, and he has a team of 5. So that's the commitment we made in retooling. It turns out that right now there are hundreds of thousands of free online courses and certifications that everyone's making available during the pandemic. So what we did was we got his whole team, there's 6 of them total. Every day they are taking they're getting certificates. They're getting certification in applied artificial intelligence. It's a free class. They wanted to learn AI. Every day, all of his employees take a 1-hour module and earning a certificate in applied artificial intelligence. You know what they're doing already? Their company, which could be your agency, is designing an artificially intelligent predictive consumer behavior algorithm so that they can track moves and neighborhoods and economies and things that will help them figure out where they should focus their efforts next by using predictive consumer behavior algorithms that are artificially intelligent that they would have never been able to do before. Some people during retooling, I had a few people that said, oh my gosh, I'm struggling with my kids. Karina mentioned her 2 teenagers. I know some people that have committed on the left side of the board, they're gonna add upgraded parenting skills. And there's a whole bunch of online parenting courses that you could be taking now. So retool, commit to add some skill set to yourself and your entire team during this time. And then I'll do the last one so that we have to take time for questions. The last one is redeploy. And what redeploy literally means is to loan your skills, your resources, your time, and your talent to basically the front lines. There may be some skills, some things, some people went through repurposing and they said, they did what they could do. They went through retooling and they're adding new skills, but they still have time left over. So redeploy is to look and see how you can deploy your skills, your assets, and your team to help people in your community. And I'm going to give you an example. We're going to make another list on the right. So on the left is your list of your talents and skills. And on the right, we made one list, which was the list of new needs in the community, from education to work to healthcare. Then we did a second list, which was the needs of skills you want to develop. And then the third list you're going to make now is who in your geographical community, who in your neighborhood are fighting on the front lines of the pandemic. And now we have two pandemics. People in your neighborhood that are on the front lines of the coronavirus pandemic, and people around you that are on the front lines of the racial inequality, which is another pandemic we're dealing with right now. Then here's what I want you to do. I want you to reach out to these people, and I want you to literally say, in the same way that you're going to reach out, a lot of you already are, as Karina said, a lot of you agents are calling all of your customers and people in your neighborhood and just calling to check, not selling anything, calling to see how they are. Now I want you to call all the first responders. Call the hospital in your neighborhood, right? You may be able to call, you might be calling a fire department or some first responders, a police force, or there might be, in one city I was talking to yesterday, there was a woman that in that town that ran the Minority Business Council. So they're right in the fight on racial inequality. Call these people, ask them, what do they need help with? Then look on the left side of your board and offer your skills. Here is the example. In one community, you guys are all really good in online marketing, right? Because you do that for a living. You have marketing skills and you know how to market in an online environment. Well, there was a hospital in this one community, and I asked this agent to contact this hospital and ask what they need help with. And they said, are you a doctor or a nurse? And she said, no, I'm an online marketer. And they said, wow, good thing you called, because we are having a different battle. We got doctors and nurses, but we can't cure the misinformation disease. All these people are coming in with all this bad information about COVID, and we want to build an information campaign from real doctors and nurses to explain the real symptoms, the real cures, everything you need to know about COVID, but we don't know how to do online marketing. We don't build websites, right? That's not our skill set. We don't have graphic designers on our staff. We're doctors and nurses. So she said, we have graphic designers on our talent list and we have online marketers. Could we loan you a couple hours a day or a week? So she is loaning her skills to the local hospital. They built a COVID information website that is so amazing. Her agency did it as a volunteer service to the hospital, that it won national awards. The hospital got a grant, and she used that grant to hire some of the agents part-time for some extra income to help them build information campaigns for other hospitals. So redeploying is loaning your skill set to people on the front lines. By the way, it does two other benefits. One is during a time when you're home and you're helpless, when you're at least involved in the solution, you feel much better. I feel helpless when I sit home and watch the TV. I feel involved and I feel more fulfilled when I am out there calling people and saying, how can I help? And they're saying, glad you called. We could use your skills right now. The other thing is, to be honest, you guys know this, your neighborhood remembers. People remember, they will remember that agent who loaned her graphic designers part-time to a hospital. They remember that. The hospital goes on in the news and says, thank you so much to these realtors for pitching in to help us when they didn't have to. In the same way, a restaurant owner said, we're mostly shut down. What can I do? And when we redeployed, what he's doing now is he did call a hospital and he's now delivering. He can only do so much budget and time-wise, but he's now delivering free meals a couple days a week to the local doctors and nurses. Somebody's driving through the neighborhood. Now there's 4 restaurants, they're all open again. And one of them is the restaurant you saw on the news that was feeding the hospital down the street. You don't think that's going to influence your buying decision? Of course it is. So this is repurpose, retool, redeploy. Again, I'll summarize by saying, list your skill set and your team's skill set. Look at it, then look to see if there are other problems you guys could be solving, because there's a whole bunch of new business opportunities. The pandemic created chaos and disruption. Entrepreneurs live for disruption and chaos. That, for me, that's my alarm clock, right? When chaos is happening around me, I can't wait to get out of bed, because that means there's a new opportunity that wasn't there yesterday for me to jump all over. And then I want you to look at your skills and find something to upgrade yourself and your team during this time. And then lastly, find a way to pitch in with your skills, but call people you wouldn't normally call, like first responders, and say, this is what I'm good at. Can you use my time at all? I think that let's take some time now, John, for to take some questions if we have some.
Yeah, so definitely, if you can, post your questions in the chat box, and Michelle and I will go through it. But I wanted to ask you something, Jeff, real quick before we get everyone else involved. And one thing I've learned from spending a lot of time with Gary Keller, very successful billionaire, and seeing you 3 or 4 times speak, how advanced you think, but then how simplistic you think. And you shared with the group the advice from a 5-year-old. And when I think about agents' business, and I think about us owning market centers, the simplest thing really is what you talked about when you walked around and observed and asked questions. Could you just share real quick to agents about that? I think that's just something so powerful.
Sure. So, and thank you for saying that. And you're right. One of the most important business lessons I've ever learned is that simplicity wins. Whatever you're doing that you think you're making it better by adding more, you're making it more complicated, you're giving your client a headache, and really all they want to do is make their family happy and pick the right house. Complicated does not win. More and more information before anyone asks for it does not win. Simplicity wins. People, when you think about relocating, people want the simplest, least complicated move if they're relocating, whether it's across town or across the country. So everybody wants simplicity, and simplicity wins in business. When I talked to Bezos way back when, you know what he did? He sold only books for years, right? Priceline today still only sells hotels. My friend Tony Shea, he built Zappos. Tony only sold shoes for a long time. The simpler you make the process for the customer, the more they will like doing business with you. So that being said, part of the way that I learned that was a day that I had a 5-year-old that I was babysitting for the day, and I took the 5-year-old to the office. And 5-year-olds question everything. Why do you have that? What is she doing? Why do you guys print that thing? What is that for, right? 5-year-olds ask a million questions. And what I discovered was 90% of the questions the 5-year-old asked, I couldn't answer. And so when the 5-year-old left, I walked around the office and said, why do we do all those things? And people said, well, that's just the way we do it here. And I was like, well, I couldn't explain why to a 5-year-old. And when I realized is, I want you to try this experiment in 2 ways. And this is what we were just talking about. I told all my employees, Friday is 5-year-old day. I said, I want you to come in here and act like a 5-year-old. I want you to question everything we do. Because 5-year-olds say, get in the car, why? Because we have to go to the store, why? Because we need food, why? Because if we don't eat, we'll die, why? Everything you say is why. Turns out it's a really good exercise. So we do it twice a year. We do 5-year-old day, and we question everything. And if we can't convince ourselves a real simple and blindingly clear answer why we do this one thing we're doing, we stop doing that thing. And I think that 40% of the work we used to do, we don't do anymore because it doesn't fit anymore, and we don't even remember why we started doing it. So I do this twice a year. I would encourage you to bring a 5-year-old to your office and let them ask questions and see if you can explain your business and the way you run your business and the way you talk to clients to a 5-year-old. And if they don't get it, it probably could be simpler and clearer. And when you can explain it simply and clear, I'm not expecting them to understand interest rates, although I kind of am, because there are some clients that literally know nothing about mortgages, and do not want you to train them to become a mortgage processor. They just want to know they can trust you and get a good deal. So 5-year-old, being able to explain things at that level is a really good way to make sure that your business is not cluttered with unnecessary things that your customer didn't really care about anyway.
Thanks. We got a lot of questions coming out here, Jeff. One says, what was the hardest decision you had to make when you were building your companies like Priceline and others?
So the hardest decision by far, I'll tell you the second hardest really quick. The second hardest, the hardest thing is saying no, but to two different things. The second hardest thing is turning away business that isn't really yours, right? If you're selling homes in a certain price range and you got some customers in a part of the city that's not your expertise, or a price range that's not your expertise, it's hard to turn down money and say no. But the truth is, being known for being really good at something. When I give my talk, I say, win a gold medal in something. Quit trying to be everything to every customer in every part of the city. Hand that business off to someone else who's on this call and stay focused on what you're good at, because pretty soon people will stop going to your competitors for the business that everybody knows you for. So saying no to business that doesn't really fit your sweet spot is hard, but the single hardest thing decisions I've ever had to do is letting people go on my team that I love. Here's how it sounds. One day I called somebody and he said, Jeff, can I call you back? I said, what's up? He said, I got to find something that Bill can work on again. I said, whoa, wait, every part of that sentence is wrong. Find something for Bill to do in the office and again. Here's the deal. If you are finding something for one of the people on your team to do because they're not quite getting the other job done, let me tell you something. Congratulations, you are running an adult daycare center, okay? People drop their adults off at your office and you create activities for them. That is not a business. In business, everybody has a clearly defined role, clearly defined expectations, and they're either performing and they're not. And if they're not, and you can't train them to get there, you need to let them go no matter how much you love them. That is the hardest decision. I have had tears cried on my shoulder, and I cried many tears of somebody that I absolutely love as a human being, and I'll always be their friend, and I'll help their family out if they need it, but you can't work here anymore. This isn't a daycare center, it's a business. So be strong enough to let go of people you love if they are not, in fact, qualified to do that particular job. That's the hardest thing.
Jeff, you made me think about some of our market centers as adult daycares. For some reason, the flashback to my mind of adult daycare, what that looks like. But another question was, what is one of the habits you've developed that led to the majority of your success?
All right, that's another really good question because I got it from modeling. So over the years, I started, let me back up. I started wondering one day, the world's most successful people, what are they doing that everybody else isn't? Because if we're all doing it the same, they wouldn't be where they were and I wouldn't be where I was at the time, right? Because I had achieved nothing and I was like, these people that have achieved a lot, what are they doing that everybody else isn't? So I made this habit many years ago to start studying what are the things that the world's most successful people are doing that everybody else isn't? And it turns out they are doing some things. And one of the things that I noticed that they do, and then I'll tell you my practice that I came up with to emulate that, is that they observe a broader cross-section of the world than everyone else. If you're in real estate, and I said, hey, let me tell you about some things going on in the banking industry, you might say, Jeff, I'm going to log off now. I got to go work on sales. I don't do banking, right? And so if I were to take you to a conference in another industry, you'd be like, Jeff, I'm in real estate. All day long, you work on real estate, and you think about real estate. But here's what I noticed about all these successful people that friends of mine that were my heroes that, I became blessed to become friends with, like Steve Wozniak from Apple and Nolan Bushnell. He's the guy that invented video games and Atari and Branson and people like that. When I started hanging around with them, I started noticing this habit. So here's what they do. They look to see what every other industry is doing to see if they can be the first person in the real estate industry to steal a good idea. By the way, the founders of Realtor.com, way at the beginning, called me back when we were building Priceline and said, show us how to do online stuff because we want to take the real estate industry online. Before there was anything online, people in the real estate industry called me and said, show us how to do online commerce. So here's a technique that I created. to do this. I call it info sponging. The term means nothing. I just made it up. Every day, for 10 minutes of the day, before I start my day. So for 10 minutes, I do it every morning. For 10 minutes before you start your day, here are the rules. You do not work for a Keller Williams agency and you do not work in real estate. For 10 minutes, you're not in real estate and you don't work for your company. So for 10 minutes every day, you are going to learn one new thing a day that you have no reason to learn. Every day, I go read an article about something going on somewhere in the world or in some other industry that I have no idea why I'm reading it. And what I do when I'm done reading it, that's the info I'm sponging, is I write down one sentence of what I just learned. And what happens is each new thing you learn, they become like little puzzle pieces. And I write them down on a sheet of paper and I look at them all and I was like, okay, I don't know what any of these things mean yet. But what happens when you go to sleep, all these little bits of information about what everyone else in the world is doing are floating around in my head. And what happens is they start to form patterns. And I can't sleep at night because I just know that story I read tonight, there's gotta be a way to use that technology in real estate. So info sponge, every day take 10 minutes to learn one new thing outside of the real estate industry. Go see what the banking industry's latest technology is. Write down notes about what the rest of the world is doing and try to be the first person in this industry to adopt somebody else's idea. So Travis, quick story of that. Travis wrote down one day when he did his info sponging, he wrote down shared economy. He didn't know what that was. He read a story, wrote down a sentence about it. Another day he wrote down micro payments. What are those? It's a way you pay people on your phone without credit cards or cash. Another day he wrote down task-based freelance work because he read about assigning people short tasks instead of jobs. At the end, and only at the end, did he look back at his industry, which was called transportation, and he came up with this really cool new idea that we call Uber. And he came up with Uber by info sponging. What if I combined shared economy with micro payments and task-based freelance work and then started a taxi company? If you were looking at taxis, you would have never built Uber, because if you told your friends you were going to start a taxi company, what's the first thing they would have told you to do? Buy a taxi. He has the world's biggest taxi company and doesn't own a single vehicle. That's because he stole ideas from all around the world and put them together in a way no one else has before. Info sponging is my most important habit.
Wow. And I know time's running out, but someone asked me to ask you this about a story of there is no they.
Yeah, so I'll do the short version, and again, out of respect for everybody's time. And you know, I heard you guys talking, I listened a little bit on the last speaker, obviously, and heard you guys talking about how you show up in the world. And I have just been very blessed. We've had our failures, but we've had our successes. Other companies, even like not just Priceline, but ubid.com. Some of my other companies became multi-billion-dollar companies. So was very blessed to the point where, I'll be honest, I actually felt guilty at one point because there's a lot of people struggling, and I was, you know, blessed enough to be successful at business. And I was sitting and thinking about sort of the meaning of that. And, you know, was I focusing on the wrong thing? Because you're all out there selling and you're all out there making money. And what do you report? All the time you report sales and you talk about sales. And we judge a gold or platinum agent by the amount of money in sales they made. And I started thinking all that's important, but what's really important in the end is not the number of houses you sold or dollars you made, it's the number of other people's lives you made better. And that's where your success needs to lead. So one day I was listening to a story on the news about, it was a bunch of women crying in a home, and the home was in my community. And it turns out it was a shelter for abused women. They ran out of money and they were sending all the women either back to the abusers or to live on the streets, but they couldn't house them anymore. A lot of the women are stuck in abusive situations because they literally have nowhere else to go. No family, no money. So this house was free and they could just go there, but the women that ran it ran out of money. And when I was watching the story of all these women crying and scared, I said what every one of you have said whenever you see a problem. Man, they should help those women. And when you see, I remember watching the tsunami in Indonesia and thinking, man, they should help those people. When you see a problem, we all say they should help those people. They should help those women. But if everybody watching that story about that women's shelter says they should help those people. Who's helping those people? So I sat up on my couch and I had a life-changing epiphany. And I turned around and I wrote on the wall the 4 most important words in my life. I wrote, there is no they. Okay? They don't help those people. They don't exist. You help those people. It's you and it's us. There is no they. And since I wrote there is no they on my wall, now when people say to me, why don't you just retire? I just point at those 4 words, because there is no they. They're not going to make the world a better place. You are, and I am. So I was able to take my business success and literally fund that house for years and install security systems and babysitting and home education and all these things to give those women a shot at a second life that I could not have done, to use your analogy, if I didn't sell enough houses. So for the first time in my life, I made the connection between how profitably I run my business and how many other people's lives I can affect with the rest of my life. So there is no they is literally the most important sense in my life. I would like to run successful businesses to enable me to solve problems that no one else is going to solve anyway. Next time you see a problem in your community, own it. It's yours. Pull your car over and say, I got this, and I'm going to figure out how to help these people.
Hey, Jeff, how relevant is that today? I mean, you think about the civil pandemic we're in now, you know, sitting on the couch just saying someone's going to do this or someone's going to create that. We all have the opportunity now to make a difference, so that way we don't go back to this point in time ever again.
That's exactly right. In fact, Pitbull and I we started with COVID saying, let's give out cash to help people so they don't lose their family business that they've had for generations, a restaurant or whatever. But now we've pivoted it to specifically set aside money for minority-owned businesses to get more disadvantaged families to have a good life, to be economically independent, to be off the streets, to be in a community where they actually don't want to riot because they really like their life and they don't feel like they have nothing to lose. They have a lot to lose. People riot when they have nothing to lose. They don't care anymore. What we need to do is give people a life they care about. And we do that by teaching them how to become economically independent. So we've actually pivoted our grant program to focus on minority entrepreneurs, minority-owned businesses, to make sure that they are getting a chance at creating a better life for themselves.
Well, Jeff, the Keller Williams Social Equality Task Force might even give you a call, because we're going to do the same. We're going to get funding for mentorship and recruiting agents in colleges and communities. So we're on the same page as you are. So I love that you're doing that as well.
You guys know where to find me. It's just jeff@jeffhoffman.com. Be happy to hear from you.
I'll be having Mike McCarthy all over this one. No, but Jeff, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We appreciate you here in the greater PA region. And I would ask that everyone gives love and gratitude on the chat line to Jeff for all his time. I know you're a very busy man, and we appreciate you being on today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And the McCarthys are family. The McCarthys are family to me, and Mike knows that.
Thanks for being here, Jeff. Looking good too, buddy.
Thank you. The new beard, I gave it a shot.
Looks good.
I was on Fox News yesterday on national TV, and my beard got more tweets than my topic did somehow. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jeff. We appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Wow. I tell you, Michelle, what incredible, powerful lessons we've gotten today, right? And what do we always say? That the sin of this is that we don't do something about it. So we ask now that now that you're here and you have all this knowledge and information, that you write it down and you start figuring out, what are you going to implement? You know, what things are you going to do in your business or your personal life, your family, that you're going to do? And if you can, we would love you just to throw some tidbits of it in that chat box so we could share it with this community, because wow, there's some wisdom. And that last one, I'm going to give a shout out to Mike. Mike drew it out of Jeff to get that out there. But that last part was so poignant, I think, for what's going on today. So Mike, thanks for jogging Jeff's memory with that thought. Awesome. So we have an incredible partner here. And you know her as our rapper, our resident rapper. We know her as Lindsay Musser of Cutco. So Lindsay has a few minutes to share some information with you guys. So Lindsay, go on ahead and share what you got for our team here.
All right, awesome. Give me a little wave if you guys can hear me. This sounds good? All right, awesome. By the way, that's the ASL sign for clapping and applause. If you guys feel the compulsion to give me a standing ovation, just do this. That's all you gotta do is rattle the hands. I am your favorite high energy gifting guru. And as you can tell by the ginormous photo of knives behind me, I'm also known as the Cutco lady. Thank you for having me. All of our time is the most valuable asset we have. So I'm just going to quickly share why for the last decade, me and my team have worked with over 4,000 agents across the country, helping them brand themselves, create future business with clients through appreciating the relationships that they've already built. So I think it's safe to say that everybody on this call knows that the end of a transaction is the beginning of a lifetime relationship with the client. It's very powerful to implement a tangible representation of how much you appreciate them and how much you look forward to the future. And a high-end gift is an opportunity to do that and have it stay with them forever. So Cutco is a brand of super high quality American made knives. Give me a quick handshake if you own Cutco in your home. All right. And you might have been using it. Yeah, John. And you might have been using it a little bit more than normal with the pandemic going on. So if you haven't heard of it, it doesn't really matter. It's the vehicle that we use to appreciate your clients. The knives themselves are just a tool that we use to show deep appreciation and acknowledge lifetime relationships with people. Our team custom engraves your knives with your name, your phone number, your tagline. We can also do the client's name on them. We can do separate engraving, but your closing gift becomes not just a gift, but a one-of-a-kind branding system that saves you time and promotes the relationship. It puts your name in front of clients 365 days a year. Most of you are appreciating your clients in some way. The bottom line is just in the gifting industry, 90% of the gifts that are even available are gone within the 48 hours. So wine, champagne, gift cards and things like that just get thrown in the drawer. And let's be honest, even taking people out to eat, people can't really take that opportunity as much as they used to. Everybody's home and cooking. And that's why right now our gift program is exploding. We can even drop ship it to their door in situations where you can't deliver or you can't come to the closing. If you're still giving gift cards, hand-painted signs, any kind of knickknacks or baskets, I want you to take a moment to ask yourself, does the gift that I'm giving really reflect the lifetime service and brand that I want to have with my clients? If you don't use Cutco yet, times are shifting. It might be a time to make a shift in your marketing to set yourself apart. And instead of running around town to find out what they like, what they do, where they go, let a premium product, American made and guaranteed forever, be the system for you. One of the things I'm coaching agents on a lot right now is that you want to be building your clients a set over time. Imagine how much business a person would have sent you to get a knife at a time. And this is what they want to be thinking about in the future. They're 100% tax deductible. Just a few people on the call that we work with, because I could see a couple names. So Carrie Ritchie, Amy and Jim Galligan, Matt Feddick, Vicki Landis, Sherry Ennerline, Janelle Logan, Jamie Clinton. I saw Jane Maslowski on here. Even if what you're doing right now is working okay, there's always a better way. So that's why I'm really excited to share with you how we can systematize your gifting process to stay top of mind. Put a system in place that'll save you time and no longer just gift your clients, but stay top of mind forever. Here's what we're gonna do. I can't feed you today. I could not pay for lunch or bring you lunch or donuts or anything like that. So we're gonna do a drawing. I'm gonna put my cell phone number in the chat box here. It's gonna come up in a moment. And one person is going to get a free Cutco knife from me. I'm going to do a drawing tomorrow on my Facebook page. Everybody real quick, pull out your phone. And all you have to do is text me your name and your email. Text your name and your email to the number that I'm going to put up here in a second. And if you have a closing in the next 30 to 60 days, you can put a star next to your name so that I know that you're urgent. The knife's going to go home with somebody who texts me right now, 717-575-0975. Tavia says, I love Cutco. Awesome. Thank you. All you have to do is text me, again, name, number, and we'll set up a quick time to go over how we can personalize things for your business. I really appreciate all your time, and I hope all of you have a super sharp rest of your day.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Lindsay. You're awesome. Hey, Michelle, what a great start of the morning. Powerful words, wisdom, notes, information, and it doesn't end there.
It doesn't. No, we're getting ready to go into probably one of the most powerful sessions that you'll ever have virtually. We're going to go into our agent masterminds. And so you check your emails. You've got a separate Zoom link that's going to bring you to your specific breakout session. We've got John Clyde as a facilitator, George Kelly, and myself. We're going to be leading you guys through the next level of agent masterminds. And what we're going to do, just to kind of put this little nugget in your ear, what we're going to be doing is we're going to actually take what we've learned today and start creating an action plan. And then it's going to be peer reviewed, and you're going to have a chance to work with your peers and get additional insight and guidance on what you can do to make sure that your plan is solid. And then we're going to give you encouragement, and you guys are going to launch it. And from here, you're going to have a plan to lead you forward out of COVID and into the future. So we're really excited about that. We're going to give you guys 10-minute break, and then we'll see you in your Zoom breakout rooms at 12:10. We'll see you there.
See you guys later.
Thanks,
Do you guys
guys.
mind if I repeat my number real quick? Some people were saying they couldn't see
Oh,
it.
go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So guys, I figured out how